and ever-changing bills, and computer terminology. Commodore reviews. Are you keeping up with the Commodore? 'Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you. Are you keeping up with the Commodore? 'Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you. Are you keeping up? 'Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you. Are you keeping up? 'Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you.
Hello and welcome to episode 21 of Zapped to the Past. My name is Adrian Mills and I am joined as ever by Graham Raddings. If you haven't listened before, this is a podcast where we discuss games that were released for the Commodore 64. We are using the magazine Zapped 64 as a monthly guide for the games to focus on, but we are in no way affiliated with Zapped 64 itself. In episode 21, which covers the pretty average month of March 1986, we're going to be looking at the first batch of games from issue 11 of Zapped 64, along with what was going on in UK music that month. So Graham, tell us exactly what we can expect in this episode.
In this pixel-infused omni-sack of an episode, we get our victory tags and a twist with Mercenary, cry ourselves to isometric sleep with Nightshade, consider trepanning ourselves with the head-drilling Dragonskulle, and feel the speedy arcade goodness of Uridium. Along the way, we also painfully shepherd some Ramboids with one man and his droid, cry for the 2-bit sample duck deaths in Kane, and get our icons in a pixel spin with the confusing Enigma Force. Send me a postcard from Targ.
Yeah, a lot to look forward there. So without further ado, let's crack on. And our first game this month is Mercenary, which is a cover game, I do believe. So the cover of this month's Zapped 64 was devoted to Mercenary, showing a spaceship shooting people. Nicely, very nice Oliver Frey cover.
Beautiful, however inaccurate, just to point out that the spaceship is filled in and complete, and the Mercenary spaceship has no sides.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. That rendition of Mercenary sort of thing is an artistic appreciation of the game and not the experience that you will experience playing Mercenary.
No.
So what is Mercenary? Mercenary is, well, it's another vector graphics adventure on the C64. Let's get it out of the way. The vector graphics are better than what we've seen before. You know, they are faster and they do move at a fairly decent, okay-ish rate. Don't look at me like that. I can see you looking at me with that raised eyebrow.
Oh, yes. They move at such a pace. It's astonishing.
That raised eyebrow, that voodoo that you do.
As long as the screen's not too busy with the vectors, it's all good, right?
Well, yeah, okay, yes, all right. It's vector graphics. That's what it is. And Mercenary finds you flying through space. And in our introduction, you you crash land in quite a nice sequence, actually, on the barren planet of Targ. Is it Targ? I presume it's Targ. I think it is Targ. T-A-R-G. Targ. You crash land in your ship and you find yourself near a handy ship cellar. A cellar of ships.
Most convenient crash ever, just for putting it out there.
Absolutely, you know. Actually, no, it's not. That's in San Andreas.
True.
Where the rock crashes next to that clothes shop.
True.
Which sells outsized clothes just for him. That's the most convenient. That's the most convenient crash ever. So you know, in you know this you can. So anyway,
lineage.
I don't know why I'm.
It's all lineage.
San Andreas, from Mercenary to San Andreas.
I'm back again.
I'm back again in one fell swoop. Right, so Mercenary. At this point, there's a ship. You get contacted by your friendly computer that speaks to you throughout, giving you information about the planet. You can buy the ship because you're offered to buy it. You have some money, or you can steal it and go hog wild. And at that point, you get a message saying, go to these coordinates, and off you go. And it's up to you. It is an open world, a pretty barren open world, but still an open world of green and blue. Which allows you to kind of pretty much do what you want to do, and your goal is to get off the planet and doing it any way, shape or form you wish. There are two factions which you can pit against each other. Did you write down the name of the factions? I didn't, and I really should have done. No. Is it the Mechanoids and the something else's?
That
the
would
Targians?
have required a level of interest I didn't have, I'm afraid. I'm sorry to say.
Okay, all right. You see, I'm going to apologise now. You see where this is going to go. We thought we have discussed this, and we were like,
Yes, we have.
we're in elite territory again.
Something like that.
No, we are.
Yeah.
So Mercenary, it is ahead. We'll get some things out of the way. It's pretty much ahead of its time. It's a big open world. It's a very early example of something you can go in 3D. You can go traveling around. There are things to find. There are things to do. I think because I couldn't really find much to do, I found an elevator at the location I was supposed to go to, and then I went down the elevator, and then I wandered around purple rooms and blue rooms and green rooms and brown rooms.
Oh my!
Absolutely, yeah. The vector graphics they warped and they twisted at me and they mesmerized me as I wandered through door after door and found objects that I picked up. Yeah, there's a lot of I appreciate what they're trying to do here, sort of thing. I get it, sort of thing, and I get the this was 98% of the gold medal, and Zapped raved about it. They loved it. This was Paul Wokes. This was his sequel to Encounter. Encounter's a game we missed out on, actually. We should have looked at that, because that's that tank game, isn't it? That was pretty good.
Sorry,
we never
Paul.
did talk about that one. Sorry, Paul. But so this is the sequel. So this is a it's a big open world explorathon. Do what you want. Play the sides off against each other. A la what was that Bruce Willis film, Last Man Standing, or the.
Goodness me.
I don't know why I went to that. Well, you can play both sides off against each other.
Yeah.
What's the other one as well? Or the classic Kurosawa one. Is there a Kurosawa one where he gets people, where the Yojimbo comes into town? Is it Yojimbo?
Well, that's the one where Yojimbo comes into town, to be fair.
And then plays two sides off against each other.
Yeah, it's
The
they remade it into that Clint Eastwood movie, didn't they?
Yes.
What's it called?
Was that
Two Towns for Jimmy Jimbo.
It's not the Outlaw Josie Wales. Is it Fistful of Dollars?
It's the
one with paint the
it's
town.
not that.
Paints the town. Is it the one where he paints the town
Yeah,
red?
it's Pale Rider. That's it. Whew, God, I feel relieved now. It's Pale Rider.
Is it? I thought it was one of his spaghetti westerns.
That is one of his spaghetti westerns.
No, it's not.
Pale Rider. It's Pale Rider.
Okay, I'm sure
It's not Two Mules for Sister Sarah.
It's not.
Or is it Every Which Way But Loose?
No.
With the comic orangutan.
Mercenary.
Back to Mercenary.
Back to Mercenary. There's a lot of game here. We do know that there are a lot of people who really appreciate Mercenary and they really do like it. They get into it and it allows you to wander around and do stuff. And there's an Atari sign and there's a Commodore sign and you can shoot them. According to Zap, I didn't find them. I didn't find a lot. That was the problem. I flew around a lot and I saw some wiggly white vectors and I couldn't really find it. And I played this for quite a while, a good couple of hours, and I just couldn't find anything to really hook me in, sort of thing. I got lost in the tunnels underneath. Oh, I'm sorry. It's just not for me. It's just empty, barren wandering. I don't know. Did you like it? Let's see if we've got a different viewpoint, and I'm going to think we're not going to get one.
I tried to like it. I really tried. I gave it like a proper shot. And I'd played it way back in the day, and I already knew that I didn't like it before I even replayed it for this, because I don't like slow vector games that have a preponderance of a single colour, whether it's black for space or green for ground, whatever. So I already knew that it was on a back footing, but I really wanted to give it a go. So I did. I made a conscious effort to really try and escape from Targ, thinking, right, you know what, I'm going to get into this. And I just couldn't. I mean, with these games, right, you've got to suspend your disbelief a lot, because they are, okay, it's vector graphics, it's graphic representations of stuff, whether it's, and the intro sequence is quite interesting, where you crash land on the planet, you've got the big sort of the planet that zooms into view, it gives you a good idea of the speed of the vectors, which are a little bit faster than Elite, I have to say, no problem with that. Problem is, it's just, you buy the spaceship at the beginning, and then it's like, then what?
That's the beauty of the game, isn't it? Well, then what?
Well,
it's up to you.
Some people say that, and I actually, and I did what you did. I wandered around this landscape for ages and ages and ages and ages, just flying around at different heights, looking at stuff periodically, not really knowing anything to do. So I thought, you know what, I better get some instructions for this. I want to try and, as was my plan, to get a bit more into it. So I went on the internet, as you do, found a bit of a description of what to do, flew to some coordinates, figured out the kind of coordinate system by sheer luck, flew around. It took forever to get anywhere, forever. So, I was just bored of looking at nothing, really. It was just flying around, and that isn't my favourite thing to do. And there have been many games that have tried my patience with that. When I finally did get to the underground base, which was essentially a vector building, okay, I'm going to elide the fact that, there's a suspended disbelief, it's a building and it's got stuff in it. Go in the lift, go down. And I was just wandering around, essentially empty space with doorways. And there was periodically things in the doorways. Just as you say, it was just boring. Sorry, but it's boring. I picked things up. The one thing I picked up that looked interesting It then kept telling me to put it back down. Please put our leader back down. Put him back down. Put wherever you do, put that back down. It's like that's the only thing that looked interesting to pick up. I have no context for the things I picked up. I didn't know what I was supposed to do with them. Do I collect them? I get the idea of escaping from Targ, but this game is just a game of vector chance. If you happen upon something that actually leads you to story and you have a chance of figuring it out, great. But you could spend a long time doing nothing. And there's even a warning in the instructions which says if you happen to crash land in the desert, God help you, because you're going to have to walk for days to try and get out of that. It says those.
I know. I saw it. Yeah, I saw that as well.
I'm like, okay, so this is a game where you stand a chance of being stranded in a desert and you have to walk out of the desert and you won't die because you don't really die in it. I'm just like, you know what? No. This is just a massive scale, super scale vector collect 'em up. And the problem is with this is that no matter how much technical cleverness there is in all of the vectors, and it is all mathematically amazing, you know, I suspect there's brains out there who go, oh, the vectors, you know, and they get giddy off that. For me, I have to collect things from point A, do stuff with them at point B, make that less complicated than this is, because for me, the journey from A to B was so boring, I lost interest, and I didn't really want to escape from Targ in the end. I thought, you know what, I could form a little colony here, I could live here, it's all right. Now I've crash landed here, I'll just I'll be settled with my lot. I'm not going to try and escape from Targ. There's no desperate need. Everything I need is kind of here. Probably, I'm just going to have to scoot around and find it. I'm going to live in Targ. I'll settle. So that was my plan. That was my goal. So I crashed landed on Targ. I thought, you know what? Escape's unnecessary. I'm living here. That was me done.
I'm going to make a living for myself.
Yeah.
I'm going to sell. I'm going to
pick up the leaders that they don't want me to pick up. Just sell them, probably. But you know what? What I'm not going to do is escape, because at the end of the day, I don't need to escape from this game. It didn't feel like there was an urgency for escaping, by the way. So I just thought, you know what? I'm just going to live. I'll live on Targ. Thanks very much. End of game. And that game ended for me when I decided that's it for me. Targ is the place I want to be. Who don't want to live on Targ? Come to Targ. It's awesome. So that was it. Sun, sea, and chippy tea at Targ. All done.
It's like the 64 equivalent of Bournemouth.
Exactly.
Or Eastbourne.
Exactly.
So at my retirement, I crash landed in Eastbourne and I'm staying here. That's
exactly.
it. I'm done.
It is. It's just if you crash landed in a place where you had a chance of being stranded in the desert, but you happen to have landed handily enough, you crash landed on a spaceship seller. It's like crashing your car into a garage that gives away free cars or sells cars for cheap. No, you know what? I'm just going to live here. You know, it looks all right. Targ looked okay. It wasn't terrible. There was no animals murdering anybody. There was no danger, really.
No,
there was no.
That's true.
And that is my problem with Mercenary, massively. There's no imminent danger. There's no worry. There's no threat. You could just live there. So, you know, if you want me to leave Targ, why is he a mercenary anyway? What's mercenary about it?
Well, I suppose because you can play the two sides off against each other, which is mercenary-like behaviour.
Well, yeah, and there is alternate ways of escaping Targ. If
you can escape in a bit of cheese.
I chose option 3, the Kirk method. I rewrote the parameters of the game. Kobayashi Maru doesn't apply to me. I am living on Targ now. I love it. In fact, I'm the Mayor of Targ. And you're welcome to come and stay. We've got new hotels being built. It's an amazing place. Come and stay in Targ. Come to Targ.
But those hotels can't be too close together because the graphics, the vectors won't handle.
No.
Won't handle too many hotels next to each other, and you'll fall out because you'll just walk out past the walls.
Exactly. No elaborate doorways.
No, absolutely, and don't have a shower because all the walls are see-through.
Yes, and handily enough, some of the rooms will transport you to an alternate location by some kind of noise. So you'll go in, it's not like a lift, you go in the noise, you go, nya, and then you just walk out the door and you're in alternate, it's like Narnia. The amount of times that's happened to me in the local pub, gone in one door, come out the other.
Yeah, that's because you were drunk.
I crash landed on Targ. That's the way I look at it. It's an MO.
To be fair, noise-based teleportation is an often overlooked technology for our future.
Yes, and how annoying it is too.
Just imagine how different the Fly would have been if you'd have just done it with noise-based teleportation instead of those sort of gnarly pods.
Yes, and my final note is just on the basic architecture of the buildings. They invented the triangle doorway, and for me, that's a winner because that is vector safe. That's a vector safe doorway. If you've got a rectangle doorway, there's far too many vector points. Triangle doors, there's only one. Good mathematics, that is, and excellent for rendering in a 8-bit computer that's not great at rendering vectors. So well done. Well done.
Well done.
Boring game, Mercenary, though. Boring.
Yeah.
Sorry for fans, but boring.
Yeah, we can't like everything, and we like what we like, and we don't like what we don't like, and that's just the way of the world. And we're too old to change it. But the problem is, I do remember playing this because it was the thing. If something gets 98% in Zap, you're gonna track it down, you're gonna play it. And I remember back then going, What am I supposed to do? And I didn't know back then. I don't know now. I feel like I've spent 30 odd years of my life, sort of thing, and I've got no more wiser about Mercenary.
No,
I don't know. There is parts of it I actually quite like the sort of the attempt at, the sprawliness of it is quite impressive, sort of thing. The loneliness of it. That's technically quite impressive. But the problem is condense this into a city that you've got to try to escape from, and just give you some boundary, and it's like probably be a bit more interesting. As it is, it's just a lot of green.
Yes, that's vastness.
Empty green.
Vastness.
I know it
fine.
is.
Yeah, but what I mean is, vastness is fine on an Xbox 360 or beyond. Vastness on an 8-bit machine is usually just the same colour a lot, with the odd dot. I mean, how much circling over the city sort of, I want to say vector graphic, but it just looked like a circuit board. How much circling over that city did you do, such as it was, to try and figure out? I was like zooming in, zooming out, flapping about. Honestly, if you'd have seen me flying that mercenary ship, considering it was like a interstellar craft, no.
Too much.
No. Just thank God that you didn't have to dock. That's the only, and I was grateful for the small mercies, because you could just get out the spaceship, get in the spaceship, and just, and there was some basic, simple keyboard commands. Thank God for that, because I was thinking, if I have to fly this thing in a meaningful way, I'm hopeless, because I was all over the shop. I mean, I was dangerous. So that's why I'm living on Targ. I'm not one for vector travel. It upsets my stomach. I get headaches.
Well, I put the graphics while speedy hurt my eyes and made it hard to focus properly.
Yes.
Not in the game, in life. I was looking away, sort of thing, and when I turned to look away from my screen, sort of thing, all the walls were warping.
Yes,
as I turned, walls warpage. There was muchage warpage.
You can only concentrate on vector lines for so long before you don't want to look at them anymore for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it's true. Anyway, that's Mercenary. We there is an appreciation of the tech behind it and everything like that, but it's not for us, and we're not. There you go. You know us by now. We're not going to like this. So, there you go. Sorry, but there you go.
No.
Right, let's move on. To our next game, which is Nightshade. Is that a deadly plant? I don't know.
It is actually. There is deadly Nightshade. Yeah, there is.
Yeah, I think there is. Yeah, I'd rather have that than this. Go, tell us about Nightshade, Graham.
This is an isometric game, and it is an ultimate license to Firebird. Yes. And it is a Spectrum port of the Sinclair Spectrum game. This is the same guy from Saberwolf, I believe. The same person, I think.
Yeah, Saber Dude.
Whatever it's called, Saber Man. And you are apparently in this a knight, and you've got to go into the plague-infested village of Nightshade and get rid of 4 demons, and then all of the people in the village have been transformed into nightmare, horrible creatures, vampires, supernatural stuff. And then you've got to basically go through all of that and turn the various monsters into a different colour. The long and the short of this is it's just wander around stuff and locate and destroy these demons. And then when you do that, get a particular object, which is a hammer, a Bible. I can't remember all the details of it. Once you get them, you can track down a demon, the specific one, do that. What does it matter? This is so slow. This was the Filmation 2 engine. Take a note of that. Filmation 2. So the difference between the Filmation 1 engine and the Filmation 2 engine, for the techie nerds out there, is that one of them is a flip screen and the other one is not. One of them is scrolly screen. Don't make a difference with this. It's bloody awful either way. So it's isometric, single colour, Spectrum port. Those words should send a shiver down your spine already. I found it juddery, slow, juddery, slow, juddery, slow. Did I mention the judderiness and the slowness? Because it was very juddery and slow. And I just felt that I was wandering around trying to do stuff, not able to do anything, because it just felt like I was under attack all the time by things I couldn't figure out what was happening. I kept changing colour and then dying. It made no sense whatsoever. And the more things that were on the screen, the slower this game became, to the point when it was just obvious that this was just a port too far. Now, this might have worked on a Sinclair Spectrum. Yeah, again, absolutely again. This was $9.95. It's not only is that expensive, but this is Ultimate. I don't know what's going on with them. We said this in the last episode. They're on a slippery slope of really bad stuff going on here. To the point when I don't think they care anymore. They're just handing over the reins of some of their games off the Spectrum to third-party producers, third-party designers and developers who have no affinity. It's just a job, get it done, whatever. The games are slow, they don't play very well, they look great in small screenshots, but because it looks exactly like the Spectrum, there's nothing about this game I liked at all. In fact, it was frustrating and annoying, and the puzzles made little to no sense. I just found myself wandering around, not really doing anything, apart from slowing down a lot and juddery screening. It was just, in the end, I thought, do you know what? If I'd have paid $9.95 for that, I'd have been angry at myself. It was terrible. I didn't get it, didn't like it. Is it your favourite game of all time?
It's one of them. No, I put that this is a bad... It's almost like I put what I've written here sounds like the worst version of the Tom Cruise film, because I put Wander, Shoot, Die, Repeat, which is the boring version of Edge of Tomorrow, Live, Die, Repeat, whatever it was. I put the visuals are quite detailed, but unfortunately they suffer from terrible slowdown as you get more things on screen. You pick up some stuff, you shoot stuff, and you die. There's colour clash, it's just dull. I don't know what there was to this. To me, it didn't seem neither one thing nor the other. It's not fast or reactive enough to be a shooter, and there's not enough there for an adventurer. It's stuck in a no man's land of bewildering badness that I just couldn't get my head around because I didn't know what they were what target market they were aiming at. It's like, what are you trying to do here? Are you shooting stuff? Because it is, from what I read, like it's supposed to be a shooter. You know, you're wandering around and shooting stuff, and that's supposed to be stuff. It's not supposed to be, but the shooting is so absurdly rubbish that's, you know, when you've got things like Z to go, I want to shoot stuff. Give me pace. You know, give me it in 2D. Don't give me this pseudo 3D isometric nonsense, because on the C64 it just doesn't work. It's not a machine built for it.
No.
And so what you get is this slow version of a better game that's on another platform. And so, yeah, like you said, for £10, the amount of money, what I would prefer to do, all these Ultimate games we've had, for this same price, what you could have spent all these, you could have bought a Spectrum and got these games on the Spectrum and just played the proper versions of them, because they're going to obviously have been way better, and they'll probably be dirt cheap by this point because they've all probably been out a year or however many, you know, however long they've been out for. But I can't get behind these. It's just, we had Firebird. They did what did they do? They did Underworld and the Saberwolf ports. I think that was an Ultimate one in Imhotep.
Was it? Oh, God help us all.
Yeah, I think that was Direct Ultimate sort of thing. I think Firebird, but I could be wrong. There's this whole slew of these games just coming through from Ultimate, Firebird, whatever.
Yeah, there was one in the last episode, I think. I'm pretty sure there was a Firebird.
I think it was Underworld.
Underworld. It was Underworld, you're right.
Yeah, and we didn't like that. And we don't like this. There's just a slew of them, and they just, I think, as you've alluded to and said before, there's just some problem with Ultimate and the Commodore 64.
There is.
They're just not been solved. I don't understand it. I don't understand how they can be so good on one machine and so terrible on another.
No, I don't.
It makes no sense.
I think it would make sense that they don't just port everything they do on the Spectrum to the Commodore. No, there's games that lend themselves to the Commodore 64. There's game types, and isometric games aren't one of them, especially in this kind of high-res sort of format. I mean, it all looks great on a Spectrum or on an Amstrad or on a BBC or something that has a bit more Z80 but everybody knows the Commodore 64's strength doesn't lie there. Everybody knows that. So to release these games is ridiculous.
Do we ever get a conversion of Attic Attack?
No, I don't believe there is one on the Commodore 64.
I'm not sure if there was, because obviously we had Wizard's Lair, which was Attic Attack, and showing that game could work pretty well. Yeah,
just on a smaller screen. It takes up. I mean, and the logic is kept simple. The logic in this Nightshade is complex. You know, you've got stuff to collect, you've got stuff to pick up. You can only use certain weapons on certain enemies. There's loads of enemies dotted about. You've got 3 stages of colour before you die. And it's just in between all that. That sounds in of itself, if that was all condensed into a few screens, great. But this is a big map you've got to walk around. It's just doors. You're walking through doors, into another room, more doors, you go into that room, more doors. Every now and again, something appears, flies towards you. You have no way of stopping it, so it just hits you, and then you sort of change colour. It's just, what is this? What is it? You know,
it's not. Why? I think it's safe to say it's not something we like.
No, you were summarised it perfectly. And what annoyed me a little bit, you know what? They keep charging top whack for all the Ultimate games because they are playing off the Ultimate brand. There's no doubt about that. And I think it's even this one is a Firebird game, and it's wrong that they did that at the time. I would have, luckily for me, I never had an affinity for any of these isometric games. Even later down the line when Ocean started doing them, I never really liked them. But this one's just rubbish. And I can't believe that people on the 64 would have really gone for it. But I wonder if we'll see it in the chart.
Probably. Maybe. Don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Let's move on anyway, because we've said enough about Nightshade.
Yes.
We're moving on to more Ultimate.
Oh, good lord.
Our last game in this section is Dragonskulle. Dragonskulle, spelt with an E. Dragonskulle.
School.
So, not to be confused with Mulder and Scully. Dragonskulle. So, this is the fourth game in the adventures of Bruce Forsyth, which sees him after the fabled Skull of Souls on Dragonskulle Island. Not Bruce Forsyth, sorry, it's Arthur Pendragon. Sir Arthur Pendragon. It's the next one, Staff of Carnath, Entombed, Black Witch, and now Dragonskulle. The increasingly poorly named trilogy of games. So this is, surprise, surprise, more of the same. Although, you are bothered a little less by enemies in this one, which is quite decent. It's not so replete with just, annoying single colour sprites just warping at you with annoying noises. There's a bit of space in this one. The problems, they still haven't figured out their controls, so you can have one item at a time, one of which is a jump. The exciting icons that you have, they let you dig, jump, wear a cloak, pause the game, and throw a rock.
Stupid.
That's an exciting series of mechanics that they've employed. I don't know why pause the game is a separate thing. There's a keyboard. There's a P button. Let me press P and to pause it.
It's just
why
stupid.
Why is that a separate section in your mechanical choices? I don't know. It's very obtuse to the point of annoying. The cloak, I had to watch a playthrough of this because I got to a point where I couldn't progress because I kept getting killed. But the cloak is right at the start under the sand, but there's no indication in the sand that it's actually there. So there's no way of knowing that you got to go find the spade and come back to right at the very beginning and dig. I was like, there's a bit where you have to shoot some sort of monster in the it's like 3D, that pseudo 3D effect, which is okay. It works quite well, but it's just more of that annoying ultimate stuff that we've not liked in Black Witch or in Tomb very much, and it's more of that. It's just not particularly very good. Zap gave it 49%. I'm not going to really disagree. I probably wouldn't have given it that high, but it's not a very good game. It's annoying. It's more of that nonsense that I didn't like in the other two. Like I said, the only thing that this has is, they've swapped, this being annoyed by enemies with being annoyed with obtuse puzzles that, there's no real obvious solution to that you can kind of figure out because it's stupid that a cloak would be buried. The opening level, the opening part sort of thing, to get a thing out, you just have to walk over a particular starfish.
Yeah,
it's like, it's like the beginning of Entombed, where you just have to jump up a particular part of the wall to open the first door. Learn from your mistakes, guys. Learn. Have puzzles that have logical solutions, or solutions when you do get them, go, oh, I should have seen that. Not a starfish.
No.
Starfish are not keys for doors. No, they're not. Just not. Did you like it?
No, I didn't. I was just glad it was the last of the series, to be honest, because it's just a series that's gone from okay to rubbish, to be polite. It annoyed me, really, for the exact same reasons it annoyed you. It's just obtuse gaming. You start, here's the mystery. What do you do next? It's like, okay, so I've got to run around, find stuff, dig things up with no idea of where they are or what doing. So you just run around digging a lot. The angular controls was just stupid. Just so when you push up, you kind of go up, but not quite to the doorways that are kind of it just felt like it was just, they made this because they had to, because it was some kind of ending of the quadrilogy, for want of a better description. But it doesn't feel like it ended. There's no real, there's a good character in there with Sir Arthur Pendragon, and there's a good adventure if they tied any of this nonsense together. And there was a good vibe about the whole thing. It's just, if he was an adventurer going through these different quests and there was some kind of resolution to that and it all ultimately led to a big thing, great. But it's incoherent nonsense, really. The games just exist in their own spaces with their own logic. Not much of it makes sense. This one in particular, great that they reduced the enemy count. Poor that they made the logic impossible to figure out. And in the end, you just find yourself wandering around different caves that kind of look the same, thinking, what am I doing? What's the point? Graphics are okay, they are, but they look like the other graphics from the other game, so there's nothing amazing. The landing screen that you come on, it looks like it was thought about in the last 2 seconds of the game publication.
Oh, the blue title screen?
The blue title screen with just Dragonskulle on it and the two skulls.
Oh, yeah, it's dreadful, isn't it? Yeah, it's awful.
It just lacks... It's like all these Ultimate games lack the same. They all have the same problem. It's lack of attention and thought and polish. It just feels like they make these things because they have to, not because they want to. There's no love in any of them, no passion in any of them. There's no game. There's no fan. You don't feel the love of Sir Arthur Pendragon when you play this game in the same way that when you play a game series like Tomb Raider, there's a genuine love of Lara Croft and the characters and the things that happen in it. You don't get that with this game. They could have created an affinity for Sir Arthur Pendragon and some story arc that transcended all 4 of those games and made it make sense to go through all these adventures because you have to do these certain things and tie it all together, but they didn't do that. To be fair, this game could have skipped me completely. I wouldn't have known really that it existed other than we do this. I think we did.
I think I completely forgot about this because we kept referring to Black Witch as the last one, and I think
exactly.
I thought it was. I had no when I saw Dragonskulle, I was like, there's another one.
The truth of it is, it may as well have been because they all end sort of indiscriminately and in their own way. There's no link between any of the 4 games, really, other than Sir Arthur Pendragon. There's no story arc that goes over all 4 of those games, as far as I'm aware. So they don't really connect, other than it's just the same character doing adventure-y stuff. But it's the same thing over and over again with less. All of the things that make those games worse, they just pile into the next game. So by the time we got to this 4th game, it's just a complete compilation of the crap that came with the first 3. All the worst things from the first 3 games are in this one. So to the point when you think, well, you start the game with an annoying noise, and you strand on the beach, and you have to find the right starfish to step on. That tells you this game wasn't really thought about. Like, you know what? Just have the annoying skull sound got rid of by the nearest starfish. When you're at that point of game logic and you're thinking about game events in those terms, stop. So for me, as with the Ultimate, this is a slide. They didn't really start at the top of a slide. This was kind of a slide that you find in a 3-year-old's park. So it wasn't really high. 6 steps, you're at the top of the slide, you go down. It's not a woo, it's kind of is that it? No one's scared by this slide, so rubbish. It's just a pointless extension of a franchise that didn't really have a franchise. Does that make sense? It's a guy that goes around doing stuff. What can you say?
Yeah, he was. I guess he was supposed to be the C64 equivalent to Saberman. I guess.
Not really though.
Not really. No. Let's move on. We've said enough about Ultimate games over these weeks. I don't know. I have no idea what else they release. So sure,
move on.
I'm sure it'll be ace.
Yeah.
Let's move on because that's the games. There's not many games in this issue, by the way. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in a moment with music for March 1986. So stay with us. Thanks to our sponsor, DavidHearnWriter.com, where you'll find books and audiobooks that are as cheap as chips. Dave's feature book is Ruminations of a Wayfarer, Reboot. Almost 700 pages of sci-fi space opera in the style of Wing Commander, as Jar must save Earth from the evil aliens. You thought the Thargoids in Elite were bad? They got nothing on the Tharnians in this book. Book and ebook available at Amazon.com and elsewhere. Visit DavidHearnWriter.com. That's David Hearn, Hearne, writer.com to find out more.
Are you keeping up with the Commodore? Yes, the Commodore is keeping up with you.
Hello, welcome back to the next section of Zapped to the Past. We're looking at music in March 1986. So what was going on in the pop charts in this month? So we'll look first at the number 1 singles. So we mentioned this a few episodes back. When it came into the charts, it has now climbed all the way up to number 1, and it is Chain Reaction by Diana Ross. We spoke about this and our love for the Bee Gees and their massive chew sets and everything like that a few weeks back. But yes, this was at number 1 for 3 weeks, so that was good to see before it was replaced for the last 2 weeks of the month by Living Doll by Cliff Richard and the Young Ones.
Okay.
So that's that's famous, Britain for you.
Famous last episode of the Young Ones where they fly off a cliff, don't they?
Yeah.
And
look out, Cliff!
Look out, Cliff! Yeah, there's a bit of a Cliff Richard thing. Yeah. So and it's Rick and Vivian and everyone singing anarchically "Living Doll," isn't it? So
it is. Yes. Yeah, I mean, we got this, and then we got... Was this before or after Hole in My Shoe by Neil?
Before.
Before, was it? Okay. Yeah, so there you go. So Diana Ross was kicked off the top by Cliff Richard and the Young Ones, which was interesting. But, yeah, because they go through the Cliff Richard billboard, don't they? Hence the
Correct,
Look Out, Cliff. Look out, Cliff!
Look out, Cliff!
So there you go. We've spoken about these before. It's just, did we see these appear and then they climb and then they get to number one, and there you go. That's what happens. We've also spoken about the number one album many times before. Will they ever go away?
How is that back?
It's not back. It was number one for all of February. Remember?
Oh, of course.
And it just continues for another 3 weeks. Dire Straits, Brothers in Arms.
Oh, for goodness sake.
It's like that annoying relative who won't leave over Christmas.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, it's December 28th. Do you not have a home to go to? Oh, just stay for another pint and another cake.
Just stay for a wee while.
I don't have any Irish relatives. I don't know why I went Irish there, but it's... It was terrible Irish at that.
It's bizarre, really. They're a wee cake. It's
I don't know what it was.
I don't get it, though. Do you? I mean, I know we've said it. I'm not going to say anything more than this. It's an okay album.
It's the CD thing. It's the CD thing.
I think you're right. I think it must be because it was. I remember it being on. I remember seeing the CD in people's houses who I knew who wouldn't ever have bought Dire Straits albums, but it was probably one of the only 9 albums that was on CD at the time. And they just bought a 250 quid CD player. I think even when I bought my first CD player, even I contemplated buying that album. I didn't know, just for the record.
I'm surprised it didn't come with it. It wasn't pre-installed like U2 on Apple devices. You can buy this CD player. How much is it? Well, it's £250. It comes installed. That you can't remove the disc.
As soon as you turn your CD player on from Panasonic, it went, money for nothing. And when you turn it off, it goes, chicks for free. So, and that, to be fair, it did do that. Well, mine didn't. I had a Sony, of course.
You did have a Sony. Yeah, I remember that. No disc.
Yeah, that cost me a month's wages, that did. Stupid purchase.
Good Lord. Yeah, but you didn't earn a lot, did you?
No, exactly. That's why it cost me a month's wages. It was a stupid thing to buy.
It was, but hey-ho, you liked it. Why not? Yeah, but that was then replaced after 3 weeks. We had all changed. Chain Reaction left, Brothers in Arms left by Hits 4.
There it is.
So we move into... That was at the... number one for the rest of the month. Hits 4 by various artists, obviously. Have you put these notes in?
I have.
Hits 4 features 4 songs which reached number 1. That's not bad, really going, is it? Really? Sun Boy Shines on TV. That was only January. I'm Your Man. Wham. Chain Reaction. I mean, that's quite crazy. And West End Girls. I mean, they were number 1 this either very very recently. That's not bad going, is it? Hits 4.
Which explains why it's been in the charts and got to number 1 in the albums chart.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why buy those singles when you can buy that, right?
Which might explain sort of thing why Chain Reaction dropped off number 1 when you could just buy a Hits 4 and get Chain Reaction on it in that week. There you go.
Absolutely.
Probably does explain a lot, really. Not that I'm bothered. I mean, who cares? It's 1986 music charts.
I didn't have Hits 4 for some reason. I was trying to think which Hits album I had, and I thought I had Hits 4, but it wasn't. I think I had Hits 5. 2. I had Hits 2, I think.
I had 5. We'll see what's on Hits 5, and if it's when that comes along, because I'm sure it'll get to number 1. They all do.
It will.
It will do.
It's guaranteed.
Yeah. Any singles of note? Let's have a look. 2nd of March, Kiss by Prince came in at number 27.
That's a good Prince track, that is.
I'll take your word. I've never been a massive Prince fan.
Oh,
never.
I am a
some
huge
tracks
Prince
I don't
fan.
mind. Oh, really?
Yes. Absolutely massive.
I've learned something new about you that I'm not sure how to handle.
The Parade album that particular single is from, and the other singles from that album are brilliant. It's a great album. It's Prince in the new power generation. So it's at that cuspy point when it was post Prince doing his Purple Rain stuff, and it's got a bit more funky and a bit more stuff, and of course, it actually became more famous, I think, because of Tom Jones's cover with
I was going to say
Noise.
that's when I hear Kiss, it's the Tom Jones version that I hear in my head.
Yeah, the Welsh version.
Yeah, absolutely. Which because that was just everywhere for a while, wasn't it? That was pushed when he did that series of collaborations with loads of sort of bands in the 90s, didn't he, Tom Jones? And he was all over TFI Friday or whatever it was.
Yeah, apparently he sang the version of Kiss on TV, and the Art of Noise saw him sing a version of that cover version, not Art of Noise version, obviously, a cover version, and were so impressed by it that they approached him to release a version in the chart, which of course they did.
Oh, there you go. Well, you learn something new every day.
There we go.
So that's Prince. Prince in at number 27 with Kiss, same day. Candyman by Susie and the Banshees at number 40.
Not a Banshees fan.
No, I'm not a huge one, though. I do like my goth stuff sort of thing, and they have some decent stuff that I do quite like. Not really aware of Candyman. That's not one of my
Where do you
go-tos.
stand, though, on the punk goth crossover because Susie and the Banshees are a punk band, not a goth band. They are, but they are a punk band.
I would argue that they've got some gothy tracks, stuff like Spellbound.
Yeah, but they're a punk band. They were a punk band. Originally, they were a punk band, and Susie Sue was a massive punk, a huge, like a proper hanging around with the Sex Pistols kind of punk.
But like most things, sort of thing that came through from punk, I mean, goth came out of that probably in some
kind of
way.
I think. I just wonder where you stood on the whole kind of punk versus goth kind of whether it's part of the same genre or.
No, I don't think it's the same genre. I'm not a big punk fan, which is probably, if you consider Susie and the Banshees more of a punk band, probably why I'm not a huge fan of theirs. I found them a bit punky, for want of a better description.
I've avoided almost all of Susie and the Banshees' output. I'm trying to think of they had one big hit that probably did chart higher than that.
Spellbound.
I don't know if it wasn't Spellbound. That's not the one I remember.
There was another one. Oh, it'll come to me. Midway through this episode somewhere, I'll just yell it out.
Yeah, do that. But there was
another one. Yeah,
Susie Sue with her eye makeup and the kind of gothy contingent look on it.
And it was good. They were fine. I didn't mind. I didn't mind them. I didn't hate them. They weren't my go-to goth band.
No,
because they weren't goth, as you say. In at number 90 was the Trumpton Riots by Half Man Half Biscuit.
Don't know a lot about them.
I don't. Only thing I know is that they played Gulliver's. I'm pretty sure they played Gulliver's at some point in Grimsby. Yeah, one night sort of thing.
There's no claim to fame. We've played Gulliver's.
That is true. We did, but it's just weird to see somebody in the charts play Gulliver's. I'm pretty sure they did. I know that our friend, who might be listening to the podcast, I don't know if he does, but he was a friend at the time. It was Stephen, Mr. Adcock. He was a big fan of Half Man Half Biscuit.
He would be able to explain their incoherent lyrics. Because I listened to the Trumpton Riots by Half Man Half Biscuit on YouTube. I couldn't make heads or tails of what it was. It was just shouty angriness.
Yeah, it's a riot in Trumpton, I guess.
Sounded like it was recorded by a human biscuit half crossbreed. But I'm not the kind. Maybe I'm not the audience for that. I'm not that demographic.
If you were to class which kind of biscuit they would be, what kind of biscuit would they be?
That is a very good question. Not a modern biscuit, so we're going back to the sort of standard. Are they classics or are they just the
is it something from your
pioneers?
Peak Green Trotsky assortment?
No, yeah. They're not a combination biscuit, so they're not a sandwich biscuit. I think they're just kind of.
So they're not custard cream.
No, but I think they're a plain old digestive. I think that's what they are. They're just a combination of different ingredients. And it forms a biscuit that we kind of like because it's sugary and oaty, but I don't know. It's what a weird question. I don't know.
I'd have gone for a ginger nut, personally.
You mean, yes, possibly. Yes, I could see that. I really like ginger biscuits, though, and I don't like that.
Yeah, I do as well, but kind of hard, crunchy, and a bit spiky. They've got a bit niche, of edge to them.
A bit niche, they're a bit, maybe a Garibaldi, bit niche. Niche.
Yeah. I don't know why we've got that.
Bit fruity, a bit of a mishmash, a bit flat. Are they a biscuit? They're kind of weird. It's a bit like a crushed biscuit, really. What are we talking about? It's half man, half biscuit. I don't know. And the song sounds punky.
Anyway. It does. So, Ginger Nuts. 9th of March, Absolute Beginners by David Bowie.
It's not a great Bowie track, that.
It's not, but it's infinitely better than the film.
I don't think I've ever seen the film.
Don't.
And thankfully, I never will now.
Yeah, don't. It's not worth it. It's an hour and a half, 2 hours of your time that you want back.
And you won't get it back. That's all I remember of the song.
Yeah, it's a bit. I always thought it was a bit out of tune in it.
Well, that's kind of the Bowie way.
It is, yeah, I guess. Don't Want to Know If You Are Lonely in at number 96 by Husker Du.
Husker don't for me because I don't remember much about them. I don't really know what were they.
Husker Du, they were a sort of American proto, sort of came along. I think my understanding of Husker Du, I think are they Bob Mould from Sugar. But the reason I Don't Want to Know If You Are Lonely is because it was covered by one of my favourite bands from around that time, which was Mega City 4. So they covered it. But they were, I think, around, I could be wrong, because I'm not a massive Husker Du fan. I just recognise this, that's interesting, that came out and charted. But they were around the same time as I think R.E.M. were beginning, or were sort of, not coming through, but early R.E.M. before R.E.M. broke massive, in that same kind of American college band sound. And yeah, so I think Husker Du are Bob Mould, but I could be wrong.
No,
I'll have to look later and sort of correct myself. But
literally nothing to me. I don't know.
Do you not remember Sugar?
No,
by
I don't.
Husker Du. The band
the
Sugar.
the only frame of reference I've got for Husker Du is Wayne's World, and I'm not even sure why.
Yeah.
So,
Well, your friend our friend sort of thing, Will, was very much into Husker Du, I think.
Yeah,
he was very
that-
much
it rings a bell.
around that period of time.
and I love Will to bits, but I didn't understand a lot of his music choices.
No, neither did I. But it's interesting to see them. They were an unusual band to see in the charts at this point in time.
Strange name
I
as
didn't
well,
think
innit?
they
A
were
bit
back.
Husker.
Yeah, Husker Du. 16th of March, straight in at number 4 was Living Doll by Cliff Richard and the Young Ones,
Naturally.
which obviously would then go to number 1 the following week. And more interestingly, though, at number 22 was Touch Me, I Want Your Body by everyone's favourite page 3 pin-up, Samantha Fox.
Oh dear.
And as you've rightly put in here, did you watch the video to notice this, or did you just remember this from memory?
I watched the video. I remembered that it had it, but then I went to watch the video.
That she wears so much denim in the video.
Big hair, massive amounts of denim.
Oh, it's a massive hair.
Oh, huge.
It's such backcombage. There's
Massive.
Yeah, there's more lacquer on that than in a hair metal band. Yes, so there you go, Samantha Fox with her pop career. In number 26 was Peter Gunn featuring Dwayne Eddy by The Art of Noise featuring Dwayne Eddy.
Weird.
Yeah, I don't remember it. Peter Gunn, I know the Peter Gunn theme, but The Art of Noise doing it, I don't remember them. Yes, have you noticed Trevor Horn? Yeah, there you go.
Out of Noise was Trevor Horn and co. And basically, it's a Akai 9. I'm pretty sure an Akai 9000 sampler. So they just sampled stuff and then at that time just made it into records, and that became a very popular thing to do. And they made an entire album out of it. So fair play to them.
Yeah, if you can, you can. If you got the money to buy that equipment. Number 58, Rock Me Amadeus by Falco.
Classic.
Falcao? I always said Falcao. Don't know why. Falcao.
I don't know why.
Rock Me Amadeus. Yeah, that is a Euro pop, wasn't it? That was early Euro pop.
Very early Euro pop, yeah. Amadeus. Oh, Dr. Zaius, if you're into your Simpsons.
Indeed, yeah, Dr. Zayas. That's Futurama, isn't it?
Is it? No, it was Simpsons, Dr. Zaius, because he went to see the musical of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh, he does, yes, sorry, yeah, I'm thinking of Zoidberg for some reason.
Dr. Zaius. You've really made a monkey out of me.
I hate every ape from chimpanzee to chimpanzee.
You've really made a monkey. Yes, we... Yeah, and all that.
Oh, that's a brilliant. Troy McClure. I said he sleeps with the fishes. The next 30 minutes of this podcast will be deleted because it's just going to be me and Graham now doing Simpsons quotes at each other.
Yes.
No one wants to listen to.
We don't
anyway,
really do
let's move on. Rock Me Amadeus. These Dreams in at number 96 by Heart.
Heart, great vocalist, the lead singer of Heart. Actually, two things about Heart, quickly. Lead singer is genuinely amazing, really good. Can hit, I think, a high F or something crazy, but really good singer. Lead guitarist is a genuinely ace guitarist.
Yeah,
really good. But
These Dreams is a good song. I like These Dreams.
yeah, no, Heart, great band. Just they never quite connected with people apart from Alone. That's the one song that everyone seems to remember Heart for. But they had such good hits around that. But Alone's going to be the one they're
very different. I always like their earlier sort of more rocky stuff like Barracuda. Which I think is a really, really good song. And things like that, which was kind of unusual stuff. And then they sort of just had this change of image, didn't they? And they just bought into the whole big hair, mid-80s
hair metal for the women.
Hair metal band. And to be fair, Alone in These Dreams, Alone has become a bona fide classic, really, hasn't it?
It is.
I do like to do Alone at karaoke.
I was just going to say, but how do you hit that immense
You know
note?
me. You know I can hit high notes.
But there's high notes and it's hitting that one. And
I give it a good go.
just as a little hints and tips, if you get a moment, go and check out the Heart version of Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven.
Stairway to Heaven.
Go and check out the live version of Stairway to Heaven sung by Heart. Essentially, it's the female singer and the guitarist from them doing a tribute to Zeppelin. It is astounding. It is truly and it's there's the periodically, as they always are with these things, these live shows, because the members of Led Zeppelin were all in a box watching this on stage. So not in a box, literally in a box in terms of a theatre. So we're just put in a cardboard box. Put the lid back down. Dave, you're too loud. Shh, Dave. So they're watching from the box seats. Watching the box from the box seats, and you can see that it actually takes their breath away, the band's breath away. They are floored by how good their rendition is.
It's is it Nancy Wilson?
Yes,
Anne and Nancy Wilson, wasn't it? I believe the lead singer and the
it's
sisters.
not about the high notes in that song. She sings it in a way that is truly brilliant, and
yeah,
And
I believe
it's,
you.
because, I mean, Stairway to Heaven's a great song, but their version of it is masterful. So do check that out on YouTube. You can't miss it. It's millions of views. It's amazing.
All right, I'll have a look. 23rd of March, Kind of Magic, A Kind of Magic by Queen goes in at number 16.
So we're heading definitely into... yeah.
Now we're in Highlander territory.
We are indeed. Oh, that's a good album, though, as well. That's off.
Yeah, they all just wrote loads of individual songs for it, didn't they? So that's
why you get... Because Brian May sings on Who Wants to Live Forever and Queen... Yeah, it's a good album.
It is a good album. It's a good soundtrack, that one. I remember the game being rubbish.
Yeah, we're going to come to the Highlander game at
we
some
will
point,
come to that sort of thing. So as a sneak preview, I remember it being rubbish.
Sprite, which is not what you want. Nobody wants that on a t-shirt.
That sounds like a rubbish fantasy porn.
Pretty much sums up Highlander the game, to be fair.
That's true. Number 30 on the 23rd of March, Shell Shock by New Order. I don't remember this one.
No, I don't. Because I'm sorry, but New Order have certain songs that they peaked with, and every other song that they released, is as good as they may be, will never be as good as True Faith or Blue Monday or anything that they're really famous for. So
yeah, or Celebration, whatever.
Yeah.
30th of March, Different Corner by George Michael, straight in at number 4.
Interesting. Not heard it.
No, I don't know. The Different Corner.
It's a song about yogurts. About Muller Corner yogurts.
He keeps bending the wrong corner.
Yeah, exactly.
He keeps losing all his chocolate bits.
Exactly. Where are my chocolate balls?
George, would you just bend the right corner?
It's left bottom corner to right top corner. Just don't fold the top corners. It's not going to work. Oh, George. How many times have we been through it? Come on. Don't write a song about it. Just eat the yogurt. How many yogurts are we wasting? A lot of yogurt products here.
Jesus. we're putting the owner of Muller's kid through college.
Yeah, yogurt college.
Ew. Sounds horrible. It sounds worse than clown college.
The College of Yogurt.
Anyway, Train of Thought by Aha was number 23.
Never heard it.
It's okay. It's just a bit poppy. It's okay. It's just an album track, really. It's not as good as, Take On Me or Sun Always Shines.
Okay.
A classic, I think it's a classic. Number 30th of March. In at number 66, Van Halen's Why Can't This Be Love?
Yes. Very, very
great,
good. 5150.
Great song. Yeah, which we'll speak about in a moment, sort of thing. So that's very good. That's it for your singles. Albums. Hits for Lovers.
Oh, I wonder what's on that.
2nd of March in at number 7. I don't know. It's a disturbing title.
It is. You know that it's going to have Let's Stay Together by what's his name?
Have what's his face on it. It was at number 1 forever. George Benson.
Of course, George Benson's on there with
George Benson will be on
tracks.
there. Barry White will be on there.
Yes.
It's a hit for lovers. Probably Billy Ocean. I I don't know what this one was, but I had to put it in. At number 50, there's an album called Big Cock by King Kurt.
Probably a classic.
I've no idea, but I put it in because I thought it was funny.
To see that album cover, that's for sure.
I think it's just a picture of a chicken.
I imagine it probably is.
It probably is, yeah. 9th of March, at number 12 is The Balance of Power by ELO, Electric Light Orchestra.
Not a huge fan of ELO. Certain songs, the songs that everyone likes.
Yeah, fan of their earlier stuff. My brother was a huge fan of ELO, so I listened through him, I listened to a lot of their earlier albums. I don't know this one. Maybe I do, but it's not one that rings a bell with me. Really,
if you listen to the War of the Worlds album, that's kind of ELO, really, in the background, because it's, what's his name in it? It's the main guy, ELO. So it's kind of ELO-y. So, and I like, Mr. Blue Sky and all the other, there's some classics out there, and they actually have a very sampled band. Later down the line, in the 90s and the 2000s and the noughties, a lot of Electric Light Orchestra gets sampled into rap and into some mainstream sort of songs, including, of course, famously, the refrain from, I think it might be from Mr. Blue Sky, I'm not sure, but one of the songs famously from ELO is in Beep by the Pussycat Dolls. So there you go.
I'll take your word for it. You're just saying words at me and things
if you heard
now.
Beep by the Pussycat Dolls, there's a string cascade. Da, 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 and that's straight from ELO.
Okay, there you go. Straight from the horse's mouth. At number 24 was the Hymns album by the Huddersfield Choral Society.
Oh, dear.
How do these albums get in at number 24?
Because people buy them.
Well, yeah, well...
That's the logic.
Next week on The Sky is Blue.
I don't know. I got to number 24. I guess it's just...
I was looking for a deeper answer.
I don't know. I suppose
maybe
it depends
it was a
what hymns are
rhetorical
on
question.
it. Maybe there's a lot of people in Huddersfield. Maybe it's a low chart day. I don't know. That's quite high for that kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Cuts Like a Knife was in at number 30 by Brian Adams.
But it does as well.
You know what that's going to be like. You just know.
Plays like a ham.
It's going to be it's going to be that speed rock.
Yeah.
There's going to be lots of that, yeah. Number 32 was A Different Light by the Bangles. We've discussed the Bangles a bit with them last week or a couple of weeks back. Master of Puppets by Metallica is in at number 41.
The classic.
It is the classic, isn't it? Yes.
Possibly, and controversial to say, one of their best albums by miles.
I don't think that's controversial. I think it's considered I think it is considered their best, isn't it?
There's camps for Metallica, isn't there? There's Metallica Black Album camp. There's Master of Puppets camp. There's even a Saint Anger camp.
No, there isn't. It's empty and the tents have blown away.
it's the only album that they made into a cheese, to be fair.
Saint Anger.
So, no, it's got that going for it, which is nice.
I'd love to see that. Three feels. That's the Master of Puppets quite full. The Black Album feel quite full, and the Saint Anger feels.
I can't tell you how much I want to hear Metallica sing Saint Anger. I want to hear them sing Saint Anger, like the cheese. Just a video full of that cream cheese. Lovely cream cheesiness. Blue cheese, isn't it? Don't even get me started on that. What's important is that Master of Puppets was out. And the thing is, I remember Master of Puppets because I remember being in... There's two pubs that we used to frequent in Grimsby back in the day. The Barge Inn, which is a great pub, by the way. Do go there if you're ever in Grimsby. And it's now the Old Lloyd's. Back then, there wasn't two Lloyd's pubs in Grimsby. It was just Lloyd's, but it's now actually called the Old Lloyd's. And whenever people used to go in there, had a jukebox, people used to go in there, put Master of Puppets on. I think the main track is 12 minutes long. It's endless. And just them shouting, Master, Master, a lot, which is great if you like that kind of thing. But I just remember that as a prevailing thing. That and I was putting Rush on there a lot for endless amounts of time. And so
there
was a certain period of the... I want to say mid 80s to early 90s where people were listening to a lot of the tracks that went on for a long time because of us.
They did, yeah. Didn't we put Sisters of Mercy, This Corrosion on a repeat?
Yeah, about 12 times. And it's about 10 minutes long?
It's 10 minutes long. And then we left the pub.
We did. We put it on. Listened to it the first time and go, no time.
Left, came back about an hour later, it's still playing.
Still going, okay, this is a long mix. Goodness me. That Sisters of Mercy, they could go on a bit.
They could, yes, they did.
They did.
Master of Poupée was by Metallica.
Master of Puppies.
Master of Poupée, it's the French version. The Monsieur de Poupée.
Pepe.
23rd of March, hits 4, went straight in at number 1.
Of course it did.
In at number 4 was Black Celebration by Depeche Mode.
Good old Depeche Mode. I don't remember a lot of tracks off that album, actually.
I don't. If you probably put it in front of me and said it's this, I'd be like, oh, is that them? Because the tracks in that period all kind of get amalgamated onto 101.
Yeah.
And so I know a lot of 101 and I know a lot of the tracks, but it's a case of I couldn't place album. Right, what album is that off? I don't know. But I would know it if you went, it's off that way. Okay, yeah, great, I know that track. Yeah. 30th of March was Pleased by the Pet Shop Boys, in at number 3.
Huge UK hit. I don't quite get why, but it was.
No, you were never a big fan, were you? You said earlier, previously. Dirty Work by the Rolling Stones in at number 4.
Couldn't tell you one track off it.
No, that's their fans turning up in it. That's the last fans. So that's, the day one release, all the fans go out buy the new Rolling Stones album. It'll have plummeted next week, or the week after probably. In at number 18 was 5150 by Van Halen.
That's such a good album.
Which you've noted here, but it's the first studio album with Sammy Hagar.
Yeah. Yes, or Hagar.
Is he a Viking?
He is now.
Hagar the Horrible.
Yes, he was nice.
As lead vocal,
nice.
Was he?
Yeah, he's a nice guy, yeah. Lovely.
I hope so.
He came round and brought me some chips.
How nice of him. He always. I've seen the video for some live footage of Why Can't This Be Love. His pants are so tight.
Yes,
I'm pretty sure they're not. I'm pretty sure they're just painted on.
No man could wear balloon pants like him.
They're literally. It's just his skinny legs. It's like there's no. You might as well not bothered.
But it lights his enormous hair. So it's crazy the amount of hair that guy had. Great singer though. But you got to like that kind of singing. It really divided the Van Halen fans into two complete camps. In fact, so much so that later down the line, their best of album is actually called The Best of Both Worlds, and it has 2 CDs. One David Lee Roth and the other Sammy Hagar. So it split their fan base in 2. And which camp do you fall in? Are you a David Lee Roth? Are you a Sammy Hagar?
I'm not a massive Van Halen fan. I like a couple of tracks, I have to say. There's not many sort of thing, and I'm not a huge David Lee Roth fan, so the tracks I do like are Hagar ones.
Interesting.
There's this one, Why Can't This Be Love, and Can't Stop Loving You.
Yeah, there's quite a few, isn't there? There's
which I absolutely adore. Can't Stop Loving You. There's something about that song which, and it was mid-90s as well. It's but it's mid-90s. It's so out of place. But when it was released, it's weird.
Well, that's Van Halen, though. That's the kind of their thing. That's their shtick. They kind of exist out of time. I mean, they were kind of doing hair metal-y stuff, but not quite hair metal, but it is. And, they exist in Van Halen's space.
Yeah, they did.
This is a great album, and 5150 is a great showcase for Sammy Hagar, Best of Both Worlds, Dreams, both amazing tracks. Later down the line, of course, it was Right Here, Right Now, and it's just, I think, the version of Van Halen that he plays in is really great, but the version of Eddie Van Halen that's in those early albums with David Lee Roth is a better version of Eddie Van Halen. I can't explain why that is, but that's just the case. It is.
Is it the fact that you like the Best of Both Worlds?
No, I do. I mean, the thing is that Van Halen are a band about Van Halen. That's about Eddie, and Eddie's guitar playing. Rest in peace, Eddie. Guitar playing is astonishing. Is an amazing guitar player, whichever way you look at it. And whether you like tapping and all the technique and all the rest, it doesn't matter. That the first few albums that he did with David Lee Roth are different to the Sammy Hagar albums. They're a different tone. He plays differently. The aspects of what he does are different. But the rhythm sections in certain songs he plays, just compared to the sort of lead, in Eruption and the early albums, it's all about Eddie and soloing and that kind of front end. And what's lost amongst all of that is the fact that Eddie Van Halen's one of the greatest rhythm guitarists of all time. His rhythm stuff that he plays is amazing. It really is mind-blowing. And just listen to Panama and stuff like that to really hear how he plays that stuff. It's just mind-blowing. Then when you come to the Sammy Hagar stuff, Sammy Hagar's vocals are probably stronger than David Lee Roth's. David Lee Roth's kind of quirky, kind of kooky character, bit more of a, good front man, but not a great vocalist necessarily. I'm sure that's the first thing he would say on his CV. Sammy Hagar is a much better vocalist, more powerful than everything else. And I think it toned Eddie down a little bit. So songs like Dreams and Best of Both Worlds don't have these crazy solos that the earlier albums have. So you do get the best of both worlds from them. I say I'm a big Van Halen fan and have been for many, many a year. Not just because he's an ace guitarist, but because they're great songs. But don't fall into the trap of liking Van Halen by the jumps and by those kind of tracks. There are better Van Halen tracks out there, and Why Can't This Be Love is a genuinely, amazingly brilliant song. And it happens to be, it's one of their best songs by miles. Dreams is really good as well. Best of Both Worlds, bit more quirky. On the David Lee Roth camp, well, you've got Jump if you like that kind of thing, but Panama, Hot for Teacher, and just, amazing. They're an amazing band. They are. There you go. Lovely.
Next week on Van Halen Weekly,
Van Halen Appreciation Society,
we discuss who had the best shorts.
Well, it's interesting that the consistent factor in Van Halen is Eddie, isn't it, really? So make your own mind up. Listen to one half, listen to the other, go for it, see what you think.
All right, I will do. Were they different, like, bassists and drummers and stuff?
No, the drummer was his brother. I don't know if the lineup, I don't think, changed that
Apart
much.
From the singer.
It was mainly it was only the singer, I think, up to a point, and then recently, I'm not sure. Because obviously now Eddie's dead, so I guess Van Halen
I've watched the
is
videos,
different,
and this is 86, and Can't Stop Loving You is a lot later, and it looks like the same bassist.
I think I can't remember the name of the bassist. I know that was the bassist the other Van Halen or the drummer.
I think it was a drummer.
Google it. But also,
do.
by the way, not that I want to overly recommend anything, but the EVH amps for guitars are amazing. So do go and check those out as well.
Okay, so we'd like to thank our sponsor on this episode, which is EVH amps and Van Halen. Thank you for your support and continued patronage of Zapped to the Past. There we go. That's the music for March 1986. The wonders such as Chain Reaction, Living Doll at number 1, and Brothers in Arms Going Forever, Prince releasing stuff, and loads of singles. There's far too many to talk about, and of course Van Halen. There you go, that's your music. So stay with us, we'll be back in a moment, where we will be discussing the last batch of games for this episode.
Are you keeping up the Commodore?
Shout out to our sponsor, DavidHearnWriter.com, where you'll find bargain books and audiobooks. Dave's feature book this podcast is Ruminations of a Wayfarer, Reboot. Just when you think you have a handle on which way the plot will proceed, be prepared for a sharp warp speed turn in the opposite direction. Ebook available at Amazon.com for your Kindle for a steal. Visit DavidHearnWriter.com to find out more. Dave's podcast pick is Mercenary, Escape from Targ. He still plays MDD Clone to spend time with Benson, find that Nova Drive, and upset the Palya commander's brother-in-law.
Are you keeping up with the Commodore? 'Cause the Commodore's keeping up with you.
Right, welcome back. That was your music. Here we go with the last set of games for this episode. We've got 4 more coming up, and the first of those is another Andrew Braybrook joint. We are talking Uridium. Graham, talk Uridium at us.
Uridium. Wow, famous, isn't it? Uridium. Big shoot.
It's very famous.
Super shooter. So you fly over the surface of spaceships. The idea is to shoot down the towers that are on the spaceships, and the spaceships you are being attacked by. It's a kind of a sci-fi side-scrolling shooter. Shoot 'em up. Very fast, very epically paced. You shoot all the spaceships and shoot all the things that are landing on the deck. You land. You then scroll. It sort of shoots backwards, and the Hulk, whatever the spaceships are called,
Super Dreadnoughts.
Super Dreadnoughts blow up behind you, and then the next Dreadnought is upon you. Different layout. There's the walls to avoid, and you've got to fly sort of around, navigate the objects, shoot things. That's kind of the game, and it is super fast paced. You've got to destroy the entire fleet, so you've got a lot to do. I don't know how long it goes on for and how many Super Dreadnoughts there are.
The 16.
All right, so I got, I think, to about 8 when I was playing it, and I was just playing it, so I was doing all right. It took me ages and ages and ages and ages to get there, because the game is hard. Graphically, it's really good. It's kind of base reliefy style graphics. It's all, there's nothing really not to like about it. This is slick game design and game operation 101. It's very arcadey, very arcade influenced. It's nice animation on the main sprites, especially the main spaceship. So the way you fly about is really good. The controls are super fast. So you feel like you've got good control over the spaceship, and it's got kind of a nice turnaround animation when you get to the end and you flip your spaceship and turn around. So there's nice aspects to it. The main issue, should there be an issue with it, the main issue is this. Obviously, the sound is good, graphics good, the game design good, very slick. It's hard. It's just really hard. So it's got arcade difficulty attached to this in buckets. So it's very well crafted, but and everything else. But you've got to really play this a lot to get good at it, to remember where the things are on the Dreadnoughts, because they do have a kind of layout. And so that was my main issue with it. I really enjoyed playing it again. It's actually 2 main issues. Firstly, its difficulty is like quite epic. Secondly, I would just question how long you could stick at it before you got kind of fed up with it, because you've got a limited number of lives. It's very unforgiving. So you're going to have to play this game a lot to get to the distances involved, and to get to 16, you're going to be at it a while. But you know what? It's a challenge at the end of the day. It's a bit repetitive, it has to be said. So once you get past the kind of shooting things and shooting the things off the deck and understanding the landscape and the lay of the land, there's not a lot more to it than that. But that's kind of keeping it simple, I think. There's a logic to that. It doesn't overlay itself with too much complexity, and I liked it. It isn't my favourite Braybrook game by miles. It's competent enough shoot 'em up, and in that quest for shoot 'em ups that we were asking for, we were saying we want more shoot 'em ups. Here's one right off the bat. It's just quite hard, and that might be the barrier. Maybe that's the barrier. What about for you?
Well, just to sort of touch on a couple of things. I mean, obviously, this is follow-up to Paradroid. That was always going to be a tough sell, but
So a follow-up to Paradroid, is it? I didn't realise it was a follow-up.
Well, it's Super Dreadnoughts, as in it's his next game.
Oh.
I don't mean it's literally.
It's not a sequel. It's just like a next game in the list. Yeah.
Yeah. His next game along was he's following up. He's made Paradroid. He's going to go and make his next game. There's an interview with Gary Liddon in Zapped, where Braybrook said that he wanted to make something that would look like it should be in an arcade. And that was his whole raison d'etre for Uridium. He wanted it to be an arcade experience. And I think to that end, he's kind of nailed it. This wouldn't look out of place in an arcade. We've said this with a few games, but this really does feel like if I saw this in an arcade, maybe, a bit more behind the sound effects.
You won't kick it out of bed.
But no, absolutely not. I'd just be sticking 10p's in it, which is not something I normally do when I've got something in bed. That'd just be weird. And I've been told off for that before.
Yeah.
Where am I going?
Vibrating beds, I think.
That was it, yes. Yes, bed. That's what I was, yeah. Much more action-oriented, and it's much simpler in premise than Paradroid. And so it's more immediate. Like you said, you know exactly what you're doing. It's kind of, in a sense, it's got there's a smattering of Defender in there, in the fact, more like drop zone more than Defender.
Yeah.
In the fact you flip left, right, you can scroll both ways sort of thing. You don't have the wraparound, but to that sort of end. But because it's more immediate, it's not as lasting, it's not as deep.
No.
There's not as much to this, as much depth. It's solid. It's a solid hard shooter, which, you know, as you've touched upon sort of thing. But I felt it's a tad. Its difficulty comes from the fact that it's a bit unfair.
Yes.
Because at times you hear that boop 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 of the enemies.
Yeah. Oh, don't.
But I don't know whether it's just me something, but you were never sure which direction they were coming from, what type of enemies they were, and what formation they were going to be on, whether they were going to collide with you or shoot you. It seemed a bit random, and your time for reaction is so minimal that you're dead before you know it.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, a bit something, you know, that was a bit more telegraph. I don't know whether it needed the, you know, the Defender style radar so you could see them coming.
Yeah, something
might have helped. That could have helped. So, and that's where I think it falls down on, because it's just rock hard. But I guess if you're aiming for arcade style, wanting people to put their money in, you want it to be rock hard. But this is a home computer game, so there needed to be something. And even Defender had the original Defender has your scanner, you know, the map of the thing, so you can see where stuff is. So to me, that feels like a bit of an oversight and could have been useful. The mini game that's in it when you take down the dreadnoughts, it's not as good as Paradroids. There's no skills. It's just a press the button at the right time and it gets harder. And it's like, that's it. It is really good. It looks great. It plays smoothly. It's got great sound effects. For me, you know, it's getting 94%. Yeah, probably. It's a sizzler every day of the week. It's well polished. It's rock hard, but it's really, you know, it is really good, and it is smooth and polished, and everything about it has that Braybrook shine and shimmer that we've kind of come to expect. And it's like, I think we're both in agreement here, sort of thing, that its difficulty level and unfairness is just the thing that stops it, you know, from because I like the level design where you've got to flip on your side sometimes to fit down the narrow gaps, and there's nice touches like that, and they kind of lift it above your just standard stuff. But you just die far too often with no way to sort of react to it, and that's what pulled it down a bit for me.
Yeah, same.
Always has done. You know,
it wasn't a game I went back to a lot, Uridium. It's got a very fierce reputation, deservedly so in some respects, because it's got the polish and it's good. There's no doubt about that. It's a top-level shooter on the C64. But with all these top-level shooters, you know, we'll come across this later down the line with IO and many others. They're just so hard. It's like, why make them this difficult? It's just, it comes a point when playing them is like, you know, it's more of an endurance test than a fun thing, and that's always a bit sad.
I don't remember it, but didn't you mention Phobia?
Phobia's another one, yeah. Phobia. There's a number of them where
Sanction, Delta.
You know, the level of difficulty that these games present is a block to the actual enjoyment of the game, and for me, this is a good example of that. It's in every other way. Just, you know, tone down that difficulty level a little bit, or I don't know how you would maybe do that, but no. But it's
like I said, give you a mini map, give you the map.
Yeah,
so you can react to the
enemies.
Types,
you know, just have, you know, if you could upgrade your weapons or something, because that comes a bit later. But maybe that logic isn't there yet. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
maybe a shield.
Very competent shooter, very difficult shooter, and
giant squid.
Yeah, possibly a giant squid. Well, you wouldn't be disappointed if you'd bought this, but you would be frustrated about how hard it was.
Absolutely not. Yeah,
the question you have with these games,
you would rinse it.
Well, the question you have with these games is, would you go back to it repeatedly to try and beat it? And I think
if I spent £9 on this, I would. Yeah,
I think you would. But for how long? Because this game is going to beat you. You know, and I mean, it is, because I mean, I got to level 8 by some miracle, really, and that was more haphazard, crazy, and possibly luck than real judgment. But I don't know. Yeah,
that's the other thing as well with it. I was never fully clear on what actually caused the land now status, because I'd shoot everything on deck and shoot everything as much as I could, and sometimes it just wouldn't happen for a good bit of time, and then it would fire up, and sometimes I wouldn't have shot everything and then I would get it. I didn't know whether it was a set time. I
don't know. Is it I think it's number of enemies killed. It could be, but I don't know.
I have no idea. I don't know. It is a great game. It's a good game, but it's just, like you said, it's rock hard.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're approaching 50.
Oh, yes. And of course the question is it a game that is as good as it was then? And the answer is yes, it's the same as it was then. Bloody difficult, nice to look at, but not one for something I'm going to go back to a lot, because I don't like losing at games repeatedly too often, so...
No, yeah, you're probably right. There we go. Yeah, we do like Uridium, but I think, following up Paradroid was always going to be a tough shout.
Absolutely.
And it's good that he's gone off and done something different. And I think he has succeeded in his aim to make something that wouldn't look out of place in an arcade.
Yes,
I think,
I agree.
if that was his purpose, and he's hit that nail squarely on the head.
Right on the old
There we go.
bonks.
Absolutely smacked it.
Yeah.
So there we go. That's Uridium. We like it, but it's hard. On to the next one. Which is a Mastertronic release. 199. Scored 81%. This is One Man and His Droid.
Okay.
Interesting game. This. This is it's a strange. There's not a lot like this game.
No.
Really. So it's a strange thing. So One Man and His Droid. So it's there's the picture belies what this game is, because the loading screen has you actually collecting sheep, which is weird because there's no sheep in this.
No.
You actually collect things called ramboids.
Yes.
And so you are a robot shepherd droid thing tasked with rounding up a series of android sheep, ramboids. This is for want of a better description, and it's going to be hard to describe this sort of thing. It's a 2D scrolling puzzler where you must herd. You've got to herd up the robots in a particular order. Getting at least 4 of the. I think there's 6. The 6th collector is 8. 6 or 8. Getting 4 of them in the right place, because they'll all randomize at the beginning when you actually start chasing them, and you've got to get them to the
Teleports.
Is it pen? Teleport? Is it? What do they call it? What sheep go in? Pen? I don't know. What do they go in?
Yeah, pen.
The pen. So you've got to get them to the
Sandwich?
digital pen. Yes. Eventually. Booner. You've got to get them to the digital booner in a set order. And if you get 4 of them in the right order, you can progress to the next level. There's loads of levels, and there's a nice password system which allows you to skip to the levels you're at. So that's quite good. You've got 3. So this is all side on, side on, and it looks a bit Spectrum-esque. The visuals are sort of single colour sprites, but it moves at a pace. The scrolling's a bit jerky, but it's okay. It's not too terrible, and it's fast. So it's kind of like you've got these walls, these areas. It's hard to describe, these sections sort of thing. And the ramboids, they move around them in the same way that the fireflies move around the landscape, or the fly in Boulder Dash. They stick to the edge and just go around to the right and just follow the edges and go around. And you've got to try and block them off and herd them in the right direction so that they head towards the pen, which is a certain point. You've got 3 powers, 3 modes. You've got jet mode, which allows you to fly through them. You've got a burrow mode, which allows you to burrow and create new spaces through the walls that make up these kind of mazes. And you've got a mine or dig or something, which allows you to dig through the earth and create new passageways. We're using these skills. You've got to kind of section off the ramboids, which are all moving at the same point. They're all together sort of thing. And what you don't want is the wrong one to get to the pen, because if you don't get 4 in the right order, you don't collect the level and you have to repeat it, and so on and so forth. This is tough. It's a tough game because there's a countdown going. And one of the problems I had with it sort of thing is that opening section where you have to get through I don't know what it is. It's like a section where there's just all the sheep are just moving in a certain direction. You have to dodge your way through them. I didn't see the point of it. What was this? Just give me the main game. There's enough in the main game that this section is completely pointless and really frustrating as well, because they'll just trap you in and force you back down to the bottom, and you got to get to the top and to the main challenge of the game. It seems weird. For $1.99, there's a lot here, and there's an actual pretty solid, decent game. This. And it's capped off with a great Hubbard piece of music. This is one of I really like this piece. I think it's it keeps things going. It fits the game. It's got a pace to it and helps everything. It feels a bit rough, and it feels a bit, there's some problems maybe in its kind of like it's in what that opening sequence sort of thing. But generally, it's hard, but it's. If you bought this for £2, I imagine you'd be pretty happy. I don't know. Would you? Would you have been happy if you bought this for £2?
For £2, it's all right. I think it's got a lot more expensive production and packaging to the look and feel of it, but it feels like a lot more than $1.99's worth of value out of this.
Yes.
The game itself is a bit weird. And I found it a little bit. I think you've got to get past that initial stage, obviously, which is a bit weird, like you say, frustrating. It feels a little bit, this game, like it's something that you're watching is happening rather than something that you're playing and participating in at times. So it just feels like stuff's happening and you don't quite know where your part in or place in it. I know you've got to round things up and get them in the right order, but it's not quite clear on how that kind of functions and works, and you sort of have to play it a bit to get into that. Music helps. But for $1.99, it's pretty good value, and it's weird. It's an unusual concept. That's no bad thing. Graphics are pretty good. They are Spectrum-esque, but they're okay. It moves pretty clunky, but it's a bit juddery. But, at the same time, to add smooth scrolling to this would have been pointless because of the speed it's running at. It's okay. It's quite a nice little game. But, again, $1.99 is its kind of, its key point here. It's cheap. You're getting a lot of game fun for your money, and if you just persevere with it a bit and go with the logic, you'll have a good time. I didn't find it I couldn't get that into it, but that said, doesn't mean it's a bad game. It just means that I got a bit overwhelmed with things moving around the screen because my eyes just go. But the music is great. It's a good Rob Hubbard piece, of course. Again, lifting a game that is probably quite good in this instance to a better realm. So yeah, what's not to like? It's fun, it's interesting, kind of crazy, quite quirky idea. Controls are responsive and quick. You've got some work to do to try and figure out the logic, but when you get there, and once you've done it, you've got it, because it's the same logic applied to every level. How long you'd play it for? Well, you've got $1.99's worth of value to play out. That could take a while on this game, so you're doing all right. I think it's not bad. It's a lot better than some full price games we've seen. Put this $1.99 one-man-aged Droid against the relax games that we've spoken about in the previous episode, and you're talking different realm. So it starts to make a mockery now of those games, really.
Yeah, I think this is actually a conversion from the Spectrum game, because Cunt Lemon 64 it was converted by Adrian Shepard. So compare this with the conversion of the Ultimate stuff, and at that full price £10, you bought Nightshade or you bought this for £2, you'd be well happier.
Is this converted by a Shepard? Did you say? That's ironic.
Adrian Shepard, yeah. Actually, I didn't. Do you know, in my brain, I didn't even make that connection.
It had to be, really.
It must be, yes. But yeah, so this is a Spectrum conversion, which does explain those Spectrum visuals. But
$1.99.
$1.99, yeah. The scrolling reminds me of the scrolling in the maze sections in Finders Keepers.
Yes, similar.
Even if it's a little bit faster, but it's that same kind of. I think it's character scrolling. It looks like it's not quite so smooth. But yeah, I think for $1.99, you bought this. Everything that's in it, there's a pretty decent game in here. There's quite a chunk of thing that you could go at. And I like. I think that password system is a really good
is a nice little
addition.
Touch,
because having to do however many levels there are, 16, 20 levels from the get-go every time would be an absolute nightmare. But having a password system which you can just go in, I'm at level 7, put the password in,
dive in.
Yeah, that's quite forward thinking. I think this was, you'd be happy with this for £2. Well happy.
Yeah, and that I think some Bobby, one man and his droid, super kid, has got through all those levels and sent the list of those passwords to Zap for next month, so you'll be able to play those levels whenever you like, surely.
What's his name?
Bobby, one man and his droid, super kid.
He was always going to be good at this game, wasn't he?
He was waiting for it. That
he was born
they
to
knew.
be it.
He was born. It's like Tommy and Pinball. He was born to play this game.
Was his second name Pinball? Tommy Pinball?
Ironically, it was Tommy Pinball, yeah.
Tommy Pinball.
Tommy Pinball, yeah. The Pinball
Bobby,
Wizard. Yeah.
Bobby, one man and his droid. Not quite as catchy.
No, and the musical's awful. But, that's just the way it works. Sometimes you can have a Pinball Wizard. Sometimes you have a one man and his droid. Who knows where it goes, really. That's true, the Who for you, though. They'll write an album about anything, those guys.
They will. I knew someone called Frank Uridium as well. He was really good at that game too.
He did, and the Who did an album about that as well. Uridium, hear me, feel me, play me. Yeah, they did.
Super Dreadnought.
They call me Uridium. Yeah, there's a whole album there, but let's not talk about that.
The Who does C64 games.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the name. That's the album title. Who 64? Yeah.
Who 64?
Yeah.
Who?
Oh my God! There is a concept album. Wait, come on, Who?
No.
I know that Pete Townsend listens to this podcast regularly, and
I'm sure he does.
He does, and I know that he is an avant-garde musician of immense caliber. Come on, Pete. You know what to do. You know what to do, Pete. Come on.
Staff of Karnath, the musical.
Exactly. 8-bit musical. Come on, Pete.
Make Arthur Pendragon the hero he could be.
Feel me? Who'd play him in the film?
Who, Arthur Pendragon?
Yeah, in the film of the Who's musical. Goodness me.
Adrian Brody.
Good choice, yes. Good choice.
He's got a long face.
That's it. That's who it is. Done.
There you go. Sorted. Right, let's move on. God's sake. To another Mastertronic game that I'm going to let you talk about. That game's another $1.99. Didn't score quite as high. Single name, Kane.
Yes.
Tell us all about Kane and his adventures.
So it's Western. Western. You play the role of sheriff, the sheriff of the town of Kane. And the Wagari Indians are at war with the Palefaces and have been for years. They want to build a railway track through the holy valley of the Wagari. Only Marshall McGraw, that's you, is esteemed enough with the Wagari to be able to sort this problem out. The game begins 4 levels. So it's split into 4 levels, 2 of which are shooters, and 2 are kind of on-screen target, and one's a side-scrolling action sequence on a horse, or is it 2? It's 2 on a horse, 2 stand and shoots.
Yeah.
So graphically, we have the re-emergence of Mr. Mission Impossible, who mysteriously,
down, yeah.
from the realms of Mission Impossible, appears in this game. I'm sensing borrowed with a cowboy hat on. So
that makes it all right. It's like
exactly.
Malibu Stacy.
It's not the same thing, exactly. So you've got to try and orchestrate some kind of peace deal between the Wagari and the train company. And to do that, you have to kill loads of stuff. Mainly ducks, it seems, because those levels where you're shooting ducks go on forever. So yeah, exactly. So then the game plays out over 4 levels, shooters and horse riding and stuff. Now, it's an okay game, this. For $1.99, it's okay. I had to play it quite a few times to try and navigate my way through more of the levels, because they go on forever. So the first level where you're shooting the ducks go on forever. You've got mysteriously sampled sound in this game.
That's so weird.
For some reason, I can't explain. You have sampled sound. So the ducks instead of like a sound effect of the ducks dying, you get like a 8-bit sampled death quack, for want of a better description, which is kind of weird. And so then that idea portrays. So when you shoot the people in the game, so you get these kind of weird, really short, 8-bit, and not even 8-bit samples. They're probably 2-bit samples, really short samples. So it's playing with speech, and I say speech, but samples and stuff. So the first scene, you've got to shoot the birds. It goes on forever, but you shoot the birds. And the idea is that you trade the dead birds with the Indians, so you've got to shoot plenty of them. And the second one, you're on horseback, and you've got to ride to the town of Kane in a set time. Then when you reach the town, you're ambushed by outlaws. So you control a gun. You got to, not totally like the first scene, but you got to shoot you move left and right, and also move the character left and right. And you got to shoot the player, and then you're on horseback at the end. There's a moving train, and you've got to try and do that. So the long and the short of this game is, for $1.99, it's actually quite a playable multi-level. It feels a bit like Beachhead, the Western version. It's kind of weird. So it's kind of like it almost feels like it's a Beachhead type game, in the sense that you've got 4 levels to go at. The kind of indiscriminate logic between them. They've kind of pieced together in a kind of weird way. They have borrowed graphics from all over the shop here. But you know what? You could go with it. The samples are kind of needless and stupid, but you know what? There they are. So for $1.99, this is actually an okay game. It's not terrible. I just found it a bit odd, and the levels seem to go on for too long, which tells me that really they didn't have much to give you. So, the levels that do go on for too long are the kind of the shooting the ducks and the shooting stuff ones, and they really do go on for ages. So you get bored playing them, and if you can persevere with it, I think once you'd got to the scene 4 and you'd finished it, I don't know where you'd go after that. Because if you're repeating the same thing and again, you're just going to be like, I've done it now. So I don't think it has a lot of longevity, but for $1.99, Zapped gave it 63%. It's about right. I'd have maybe given it a bit less because they have ripped off the graphics, but I had a bit of fun playing it, and I could sort of get through it. Took a while, but what did you think?
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same camp. I think I'm ironically, the only flip side out of this sort of thing is that I put multi-screen cowboy 'em up. Sees you shooting birds, riding a horse, having a shootout, and then trying to stop the express. Which, and as you said, I've written, it's not terrible, but I put there isn't really much here for £2. Even for £2, there's you stand there and you just shoot arrows.
Yes.
And it goes, and like, okay, that's okay for the first 30 seconds or so, but goes on for a while. So you're just doing the same thing as that squawk happens, and you're just trying to build up lives. And then, you've got jumping over a few bushes and what have you, and then you've got to shoot some people who keep randomly popping out, and then you jump some bushes again. They take a little while, but I don't know. But the main sprite is nice. He's Impossible Mission Man. It's kind of weird when you see him. It's very strange when you see him come running on. It's very odd. It's functional. It works. The squawk of the birds is funny. It's hard to get annoyed at because it is £2, and it all works, and it's a bit of fun, and it's nice to see that you can practice the different levels, which is always good to allow you to sort of have a go at them and get better at them before you sort of try it from the beginning to get through them. It's hard to, 63%, £2. It's way better than Outlaws, that awful Ultimate one we looked at.
Oh, that's terrible.
Last time, and that was awful sort of thing. So as a Western multi-screen 'em up thing, it's all right. It's £2. I think I'm not sure if I did actually buy this back then. I think I might have done. And I think the production values are quite high for the animations and the backgrounds and what's there. You don't mind it. Yeah, this is for me. This is perfect £2 fodder.
Yeah, absolutely. You're not going to worry too much about what you paid for that.
Yeah. So for me, this would be like, this is all right. I could play this, and it's a bit fun, and it's stupid, and go for your, try and shoot as many ducks as you can. I imagine you could play that duck screen forever if you got a really good shot, and just drive yourself mad with that squawk.
It goes on forever.
Yeah. Well, it just depends on how good a shot you are.
Yeah.
If you're a terrible shot, it's over very quickly.
No, I was playing it forever.
Then you're a very good shot.
Yes. Which is kind of counterproductive logic, really. But there you go.
Well, I suppose. But the more ducks you shoot, the more lives you get, in it, which is a strange. You trade them for lives later in the game.
On the next level after that to jump over the bushes, but once I'd figured it out, I was all good.
Yeah, they are tricky. It is tricky. It's always the back legs I found.
Yeah.
It was the trailing leg.
Yes.
The trailing leg of the horse that got me. But yeah, it's all right. It's a £2 Western. What you going to expect? With the Impossible Mission Man starring in it.
Well, exactly.
It's like John Wayne starring in a budget Western. You recognise him, but you're not quite sure what he's doing in this.
Yeah, it wouldn't be John Wayne, would it? It'd be like,
Well, no, it would be, because it's the guy from Impossible. Well, it's the guy from Impossible Mission. So it's the guy from the bigger production stuff slumming it in something cheap.
Well, it looks like the guy from Impossible Mission, but he's wearing a cowboy hat, so it's the Bruce Lee equivalent.
It'd be Ronald Reagan, wouldn't
it? Yeah.
That's who it would be. Or maybe Alan, what was his name? Alan Kidd? I don't know. Guy at Shane.
Bob.
Shane.
Yeah.
Bob Shane.
Bob Shane. Shaney Bob, yeah.
Yeah, him. It's him. It's all right. Kane. Yeah, it's all right. He also went on to play the bad guy in RoboCop 2.
Yeah, well, Kane is a weirdly popular name for games on the C64 because there's a few games with Kane in the title. At least two I can think of. Probably only
Kane
two, but there's two. Legend of Kane. Yes.
Oh, Legend of Kane, yeah, I suppose. Yes. Yeah, is that it?
Kane the Bomber. Bomber Kane. Those are games I made that I haven't released, so you wouldn't know about them.
Do they live in another? They go to another school.
Yeah, I've got them. But you've never played those. You wouldn't know about them, but I've got them. Yeah. Sugar Kane, Kane Sugar,
Kane and Abel.
Yeah, Kane and Went. Yeah, loads of them. Loads of the whole Kane series.
Pastor Kane.
Yes, there is. Yeah.
Which is not about a vicar, but just about a wheat-based product.
There is, yeah. Absolutely, yes. In fact, let me just make a note of that because I probably need to update the program file because that's the sequel right there. Make a note of that.
Oh, enough Kane-based shenanigans.
Yes.
Kane, it's all right. £2, you'll be all right with this.
Yeah,
it's
go for it.
It's a bit of fun.
Is that two quidders, one after another? That's pretty good, though.
Both two quidders, yeah.
So for £4, you've got quite a good variety of gaming there. One Man and his Droid and Kane. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I would be way happier buying One Man and his Droid and Kane over Nightshade and Dragonskulle.
Yes, absolutely. For 20
and I would have £16 left to spare,
exactly.
to spend on clats and Coke.
And back then, that would have bought you a car and a cinema.
Oh, it would have finally got me my Ford Sierra, the car of my dreams. And I'm not actually kidding there, listeners. That was the car of my dreams back in the 80s.
You
the Ford Sierra.
The Action Jackson figure that you always wanted.
Oh, I love that sort of thing. What do you think he'd have said if he had a drawstring?
What, Action Jackson? That particular version.
What would be his catchphrase? I'm action. I'm Jackson. I'm here for the action.
I'm all action. Yeah, it'd be something like that. It's like, I don't know. I had an action man that said, give me some cover, which ironically, when my sister was playing Cindy's and Action Men, which you do when you've got sisters who do that, and they put them in bed together because they were married. She pulled the cord on the Action Man and he said, give me some cover, and he was in bed with her. To this day, it lives with me that.
Did she pull the blanket over
She was
him?
like, oh, he's always so demanding, that Action Man. It's like he goes to sleep in his underpants. Come on, there's sealed into them. He has no life.
He's chilly.
He is. But
He needs a blanket.
but we both,
cover.
myself and my sister, remember that to this day. The day she pulled the Action Man cord, he went, give me some cover. Yes. He was angry about that. Oh, he was.
Oh, this is what we did to entertain ourselves back in the 1980s.
Exactly.
There you go.
None of your bloody mobile games. We had that.
Yeah.
Cindy had to marry Action Man in some elaborate ceremony. Well, there you go.
Jesus Christ.
Don't even get me started. I was not happy about the pairing. I was not happy at all. He was a military man, an action man. He was not for domestic life. He was, he had eagle eyes and he had a little notch in his neck to look down his gun barrel. He was all action, that guy.
And then he had an apron on and was making barbecues in the garden.
In the end, I found him years later in a box in the loft, just in his boots. That's all he had on. Just a pair of boots. That's a true fact. So he had his naked body.
He died with his boots on.
He did. His naked body, his shaven haircut, his eagle eye still worked.
Had his hair grown?
No, he was short-haired. It hadn't grown, obviously. His eyes were still eagle-like.
How freaked out would you have been if his hair had grown?
It was like an afro
and he had long nails.
You didn't help me. Why didn't you trim my nails and cut my hair? That would be terrifying. And
Vampire Action Man.
And I pulled the cord because the cord was still in the back of the Action Man. It was amazing, really.
I would hope so. What else would it be?
And it just went. So, oh dear, something suffered badly there over time. No, he lost his ability to say anything. Bless him. But there he was in his boots and his blue underpants. And do you know what? Every year now, since I found that, I do that on that day. I just walk downstairs in my underpants and my pair of boots, much to my wife's horror.
And just go.
Exactly. I just made that noise.
She I communicate
really
with
why.
it all day. I just walk around in my pants.
She doesn't understand why, and she never will. But I'll have to try and do it. I've got a piece of rope that I tie around just at my back. If she pulled the cord, I'd say something, but it would be just some horrific sound. But there you go. That's probably a window into my private life you didn't need. But there you go.
Action Man Day at the Graham household.
The Graham, yes, it is. Yes, it's coming up. It's in June.
Oh, your wife is a lucky woman.
She is.
For many reasons. For many reasons.
Not that one, though.
Not that one, no. That one outweighs them all.
Yes.
All the reasons she might be lucky have been counterbalanced by Action Man Day.
Explains the email she sent to me where she said, I dread June and all it stands for. So, just, I thought, I just broke that off as a joke. We all hate June sometimes,
Blue pants, boots, and static.
Exactly, yeah. Well, I've got the shaved head thing. I do have eagle eyes. They're not as eagle, though. Not 2020. I have to wear glasses now. So that's not the Action Man that perhaps is in the box. So, anyway, that's a bizarre digression beyond the point of pain. Anyway, buy it for $1.99. It's a good game.
And on that note, let's move on. Jesus. Two. God, our last game of the episode. It's Enigma Force. It's all right. Just go. We can't be doing any more.
You're okay. You're okay to leave now.
I'm imagining you've stopped listening about 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, they're like just a look of horror. They're like, no, I can't. I can't unsee that now.
They won't stop talking.
Blue underpants. Blue underpants.
Right.
So Enigma Force.
Enigma Force. What is Enigma Force? Enigma Force is Enigma Force. Enigma Force was a 9.95. It got 65%. It is the sequel to Shadowfire, which is interesting. So we get a text scroll scroll at the top at the beginning telling us that Zoff has escaped and that we are going to get him. And then it tells us that we've had a successful crash landing, which I questioned, because then isn't it just a landing?
Yes. Yes, a successful crash is not a crash.
It's a landing.
You landed. Yes, you did.
We've successfully crash landed. Well, you landed then.
Yes,
Don't
you
take
landed.
it away from me. So Shadowfire, if you remember, we looked at in very first episode.
We did.
Icon-driven 2D strategy type thing where you guide your crew of space banditos or whatever they are around a spaceship, trying to capture evil General Zoff. This picks up on that, but goes for a more typical visual styling in that the fact there are now sprites with animations, and you go from room to room and you use icons to move them there, and there's two races and they're fighting against each other, and I had no idea what was really going on in this. I found it very confusing. The backgrounds in the first game, one of the things we actually really liked from the first game was its visual style, and I think the switch to a more standard visual representation is a big mistake, because the backgrounds in this are dull as hell, because they're just grey box rooms. It's boring to look at. The sprites are not particularly very good either. They're not particularly well animated. They're a bit blocky. They're a bit and the mix of real-time gameplay and icon-driven control with these creatures wandering around shooting them and all the kind of stuff sort of thing just doesn't work. It becomes very annoying very quickly. This, so your screen is split into two with icons at the bottom and the game world at the top, similar to sort of Spy versus Spy, I guess, is a sort of similar type of thing. Yeah. But it's just not great, and it's not even enjoyable to play because it's so frustrating trying to control multiple people in multiple different locations doing different things, watching this going on and not really having a clue what was happening. And even the main tune, which I do like the tune. I think it's a Fred Gray track, is it? It's a really nice piece of music sort of thing, like Shadowfire was, but the game is a mess because it's a step too far. It's a dent in designs again, and this is a real misfire from what they were doing before. It's a bit of a mess in all directions and just doesn't coalesce into anything that is enjoyable. Not for me, anyway. Did you find it? Did you get on with it?
No, I didn't. Great music. I like the graphics, but we never really complained about the graphics from Shadowfire, so it's a genuine follow-on from that.
It's just a very different, though. That was not sprite-based, was it? It was bitmap and little visual stuff. Yeah. I just don't like the sprites in this. I felt they were a bit bitty.
I found myself disconnected from it. I didn't quite know what it was that it was asking me to do. It felt I was a bit lost in a world I was unfamiliar with. I didn't get too far into Shadowfire, so Enigma Force is always going to be a bit of a big ask for me. I don't really like these kind of multiplayer RPG-ish, kind of, with the exception of Shining Force on the Mega Drive, for some reason. I don't really like these sort of turn-based multiplayer, not that it's turn-based, but you know what I mean, this kind of multiplayer kind of idea with icons, and I don't know, it didn't have, it was missing, was it me or was it missing something that Shadowfire had? And it's a genuine carry-on sequel. It continues the story, it continues the logic, but for some reason there was just something that didn't quite work, and I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just that the graphics, like you say, weren't as good. In some ways, I mean, they're pretty to look at, but they don't quite, in the same way that Shadowfire suffered from, I don't know, it just didn't connect with me, and I found myself struggling with it quite quickly, and just clicking on things and not quite knowing what they were doing. And icons, by their nature, have to represent something that makes sense to the person. They're a visual cue, and I found myself not being able to understand the visual cues of the game very easily, and that was a barrier. And then as soon as you put a barrier in, you're trying to multiply that control logic across this multiple characters and also a big game arc and a story, and just in the end I just got overwhelmed with things I didn't understand, and so I just tuned out, which is a shame. Shadowfire I think had an easier in. I think it was less impenetrable than Enigma Force. Enigma Force just feels like you know a lot of stuff, get on with it. And that's the sadness, really, because there's in there somewhere quite a nice idea and big game, and it's probably a really good sequel, but you'd have to work really hard through all those puzzles and soldiers and all that complexity to be able to get to that. And I genuinely don't think many people would be that bothered unless you're a really hardcore Shadowfire fan and want to know what happens. I am not. So it was a big switch off for me. I'm sorry to say, but it was. It only got 65% in Zap. I think there's a reason, and I think it's the exact reason we've identified. it's a bit of a crapper version of Shadowfire, if I was honest, really.
For me, it's the melding of icons and real time gameplay.
Yeah, it
this
doesn't
could have
make
been
a lot
all
of
right
sense.
if it was like a prototype sort of early version of something like XCOM, turn-based or strategy-based, where you moved and it says, right, move there, make this action. Then you've got time to sort of contemplate your actions with the icons and stuff. And I think that would have worked. That could have been really good. I would have really dug into that, and I thought that would have been quite good because those kind of turn-based, like even if you go 2D to things like Advance Wars or whatever, those games really sell themselves in that. And this is there almost, but making everything happen in real time. Even things like Mario versus Rabbids on the Switch and stuff. So there's games that do this. Like I said, like XCOM. There's tons of stuff like that. Turn-based ogre tactics and the Final Fantasy Tactics games. There's tons of stuff that did this. This could have been an early version of that, I think. And if they'd maybe taken that step and just gone, you know what? We're just going to take a step back and say, right, this is your move. You moved. That guy moved here. Then it's their move, and you got to work your way through and some strategy. That could have been really good. But this, no, it's again forcing two things together that didn't work. Don't work for me. No, this was a big misfire on all. And I really wanted to like this. And I remember playing a lot of this back in the day because I really wanted to like it because I loved that music and I liked the styling and I liked Shadowfire. But it never. It just kept, like you said, just distance. There's a distance in this game, and it just never. I never twigged. I never connected with it.
No, same. Sadly, but true.
Yeah, good music though. Do like the music.
Fred Gray,
like the music.
Another classic by Fred Gray with Enigma Force. Yep.
Yeah, it is good. There we go. That's our games for this week. So before we round up and say what's coming next week, let's have some Crapverts. So let's move into the Crapverts. We've got 3 here to look at. First one's a double page spread, which is confusing as all hell, which I suppose the program was, but I've no idea what I'm supposed to be looking at in this advert. This is the advert for the game Max Headroom.
Weird.
It's
weird.
It's odd, isn't it?
Yes.
So what we've got in this, it's a double page spread. So across the top, we have a series of still images of a man, a couple of images of a man in the rain, in some kind of struggling, as in still images from the film. I think this is from the film Max Headroom, or the TV show, whatever it was. I can't remember. There was an actual film of this, I think. Then there's 3 more images of, I don't know. It's a dark alley with someone on a motorbike, I think. Then it says, "What I want to know is," in big blue lettering, and then there's a broken Max Headroom barrier. Normally what you get when you go through into a car park or whatever. But then in the bottom left, there's a kid in a bath typing on a computer. And I do mean a kid in a bath typing on a computer. And then in the bottom right, there's a couple of screenshots from the game, and it says, "Why would anyone play anything else?" So I don't know. There's one of the screenshots. These are from the game, or are they from the game? Because the TVs are made up as well. So there's Max Headroom on a computer-generated computer TV, and then there's a building with some. What is this?
I don't know. Max Headroom was a kind of a whole thing in of itself, wasn't it? So
Yeah.
So Max Headroom itself was some kind of. Wasn't it originally, and I could be wrong, but wasn't it some kind of TV presenter for music TV? So it's MTV thing, or was it? Am I imagining that?
I thought it was some kind of Channel 4 film or something. I thought it was. I honestly don't know. Maybe I should have looked it up, but I'm not sure what the hell this is or what this advert is trying to sell me. But I don't understand the process of why you would have those 5 shots across the top and the kid in the bath in the bottom left. It just I can't tie it all together.
No, I think it was a concept of an idea around some TV presenter, but it was actually meant to be computer-generated TV presenter. But it wasn't computer-generated. It was actually a guy in a mask made to look like it. I think he presented music videos. There was a kind of a TV show spin-off series based off, and he presented music videos, a bit akin, I think, really to something like what was the animated show that they did with MTV? Butthead and whatever it was called.
Beavis and Butthead.
So Beavis and Butthead. So I think in that kind of idea that it was a person doing stuff weirdly repetitive, weird backgrounds, kind of juddery computer
it's early
stuff.
kind of CG-ish. Was it CG or was he a model? Or
no,
what?
it was a person in a mask on a green screen with made to look like it was CG, and that was the kind of concept of it. Just in that kind of weird experimental thing.
Was the film some kind of weird sort of dystopian, futuristic?
Yeah,
thing?
cyberpunk, essentially, cyberpunky thing.
Yeah.
I don't know much more about the story of what that was, the TV show was essentially music videos broken down with bits of Max Headroom being some kind of DJ VJ. And then there was some kind of sort of film logic. I don't really know. And I'll tell you why, because it didn't really connect with me at all. I know people that do like it. I wasn't one of them, and it never did. I just didn't quite get it. And I'm not sure if I was, maybe in my brain and my conceptual ideas of things weren't ready for a Max Headroom. I think because it was American sounding as well. Maybe in my youth attributed it to an American idea that, it's American, and you have to put yourself in the logic of the 80s a bit. And, we were, northern lads in a northern town, British to our core back in the 80s, and this US stuff didn't quite connect with us in some ways. Stuff like this, we were a bit. I would have been looking at it thinking, what on earth is this garbage from the US? Even though it probably wasn't.
I think it's British, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think
it is.
British.
It's a British fictional character.
Yeah.
What I mean, but in my mind, I'd have been like, because it sounded American. I just don't remember having a connection with it. And so when I look at the advert, it makes absolutely no sense, even if it.
That's
Even
good.
if I wanted it to.
It might just be me.
No, it makes no... It says, what I want to know is Max Headroom. Why would anyone play anything else? I don't know what it means. I don't understand it. And, as an advert, it's got some computer graphic images. I don't believe they're of the game, but they might be of a game. I don't know. I would hope that those are screens from the versions of the game. Otherwise, it feels a bit misrepresented. But, its recommended price is $9.95. Classic advert of this time. All substance, no content, doesn't tell you anything, and weird images at the top of possibly a film with a guy shining a torch. I don't know really what that means. It doesn't mean a whole lot. And the Max Headroom sign has been smashed and broken. I don't understand it. It's a bit of a concept advert. I think if you knew what Max Headroom was, you'd probably be like, oh, it's Max Headroom going great. It certainly didn't speak to me in 1986. It bypassed me on TV, and it bypassed me in gaming format as well. And I don't think I ever played it. Are we going to come across this to play?
I would have thought so, probably, somewhere along the line. Comes out for the C64, so all these adverts we will get to look at games for. We'll see if we can make sense of Max Headroom then, because...
Without Max Headroom's kind of quirky speech, and God help us if they've tried to replicate that in 8-bit.
I'm hoping they have.
I imagine it's going to be friggin' awful. But there we go, let's find out. Let's find out.
You heard it here first. All right, so the next one...
Oh dear.
Terrible. I love this show. This is Battle of the Planets.
Oh dear.
Who drew those characters at the bottom?
No, we're still... Who cut that Battle of the Planets out from the cornflake packet that it was attached to and badly placed it on that? Goodness me. Why?
Retail of $9.95. So this is the Battle of the Planets advert. So we've got Battle of the Planets across the top, cut out from something and curved across the top of a viewpoint out into a space battle with what they look like they're shooting more cereal from that cereal packet, I think, from what they cut that title out from. That's what those spaceships are. The spaceships are quite nice, but the brown things that they're shooting are not quite so great. But then at the bottom, there's the cast of Battle of the Planet. So we've got Mark, Princess, Keop, Tiny, and Jason. But they're all slightly wrong.
Yeah.
Just ever so slightly enough to make you go... It's like the uncanny valley of Battle of the Planets characters. And also, as well, can you read the text?
No, putting black text on. I can see Microgen, which made me sweat when I saw it, because I'm like, oh, it's them.
If I try and read it,
Microgen.
it says, Battle of the Planets is the space simulation that was selected for the National Computer Games Championship.
Right. Means
the hell is that about?
absolutely nothing. There's nothing on that
like
advert that
those
tells you the
drawings.
game, does it? That even the retail $9.95 looks like it was an afterthought.
Yeah, the three characters look like they're really unhappy to be in this advert.
Yeah, it's always fun when you draw in two of the characters with their backs towards the person of the advert, right?
Yeah,
So
poor old Mark and Tiny. No, Jason. So that's Jason. It Mark's at the front.
I don't know the names. She looks annoyed, the one on the left, the old bird face there.
That's Princess.
Right, you know these characters very well.
Princess Keop. Then there's Tiny in the middle. Jason at the back and Mark on the right. I know Battle of the Planets.
The myth of Battle of the Planets, of course, is that it was a Japanese anime series, but it was actually Battle of the Planets is an American adaptation of a Japanese anime series.
Yeah.
So they adapted it, changed the dialogue, redubbed it, replotted some of it. So some of the plot is faithful, and some of the plot of the episodes is completely different because it just didn't suit the audience. It'd be interesting to see it subtitled in its original format, Battle of the Planets, or as it was politely known, is it Gatchaman or something like that?
It's something like that, yeah.
But I was only a fan of Battle of the Planets when it was on, which means that when it came on, it was always, Battle of the Planets, and I'd watch it.
That's He-Man.
Yeah, same. It all sounds the same. I remember the Battle of the Planets, and I remember the Fiery Phoenix, and that's the only bits I really remember. Battle of the Planets. Yeah, now I remember. Yeah, that helped. Why is He-Man always stuck in my brain? Damn that Prince Adam and his good looks.
Well, that's the thing. It's not just the music that's stuck in your brain, is it? It's Adam. It's He-Man, and his.
Well, he did wear blue underpants and boots sometimes, and well, it's just that's down to He-Man Day. That's in August. I don't have to worry about that for a while. But anyway, Battle of the Planets. As an advert for a game,
you just walk around on top of a cat.
Well, here's my question. Yeah, Battle kind of ain't. My question for you is this. Did you play this? Because if you were such a big Battle of the Planets fan, how did this not be a part of your game collection?
Never heard of it. I can only assume that it didn't come out for the C64, but it's good because it doesn't actually say that I can see on there any particular. It just says it was selected for the National Computer Games Championship.
Well, it's Microgen, isn't it? And Microgen did they do Everyone's a Wally and
that horrible one we looked at last week, the one where the racially insensitive one with
my gosh, yes.
the final one, not Pajama, whatever that was.
Yes,
yeah, Battle of the Planets. I'm not happy about that advert sort of thing because I'm not happy about those drawings of my characters.
No.
They're not
really,
they're not right. And she really doesn't look happy. Princess is not happy,
and I don't understand
and
it.
I don't blame her.
But here's the thing, right? Just as a final shot. The one thing I do remember about Battle of the Planets is that the Battle of the Planets writing was not like that. It had this kind of 3D effect. It was like big, bold Battle of the Planets, but it was kind of
the planets.
Like, remember the Superman writing in the movie Superman? It's sort of it's got that zoomy. What it wasn't was cut out from a newspaper like that. So my feeling is that is just some shonky put together nonsense, which is bad, really, isn't it? No, but we're in those times now.
The artist has signed it. The Steiner.
Oh my gosh.
The bottom right.
Oh, it is. Yeah, there it is. We'll find him. We'll
anyway,
hold
let's
him to
move
account.
Because the next advert is terribly exciting.
Can you feel the Force?
So this is the Force, an icon-driven multi-screen strategic simulation of what it's like to take on the most difficult task of all.
Right, which is loading this game, I imagine.
Yeah, designed in consultation with Britain's senior police officers.
Yeah,
from Mind Game. So this is basically, you've got some strategy game about controlling police. And on this advert, there are various police people, one on a horse. Yeah. There's Juliet Bravo in the middle.
Yeah, you see, as that advert descends, it gets less police-like, doesn't it?
Two guys stood next to a car. They don't look like they're in police uniforms.
Well, it's not. It's a traffic warden. The one on the left is a traffic warden.
Yeah, he is. You're parked here illegally, mate.
Yeah, and the one on the right, was the guy that used to inspect the bus tickets on the buses, that kind of outfit. So the only police-like people are the policewoman and the policeman in the middle. The police officers in the middle. The one on the horse is definitely just a guy on a horse in a hat. It's not a police officer. He doesn't have a police outfit on.
I actually do believe that one on the horse is Dennis Farina.
It does look like Dennis Farina. And there's the guy on the top left, right at the top there, just peeking in.
Yes. I didn't see him.
No, he wears a policeman's hat, but that's all we can see. And then you've got the guy on the motorbike, Chips guy, who is wearing a reflective belt. So I'm assuming that probably isn't a police officer, because I would imagine that they don't. Do they? I want him to have a blue light on his helmet, but I don't think they do that. But they should. No. And I meant on his head.
They do that in like Naked Gun.
I know, but that's how it should be. I am pretty sure that this game, because it says you have at your command around 500 officers. Is that, or is that 800? I can't. It's the blurry text. It's hard to read.
Yeah, 500 officers,
100 vehicles, and a host of other units. They've got 100 vehicles. What are the other units? All that goes to make up 4 city police stations. In fact, all you have to do is keep the crime rate down and the people happy. Well, if that ain't a remit for the police force, I don't know what is. It's my mind games, ironically. So
the other units, there are the Dennis Farina horse patrol. That's there's the small guy at the top. I don't know. It's not a very good advert. It doesn't encourage me to think that. I imagine we're gonna get this game because it's coming for the CBM 64. Yeah. So I'm gonna make you play this.
I'm mystified as to why the police car at the bottom would have a turret with a police light on it, as opposed to just having the word police written on it, which it doesn't have. No. So I'm guessing that is actually just one of the at the moment, of course, because they're not police cars nowadays, either. They're all highway maintenance. So whenever you're driving down the road on a motorway in Britain and you see the flash of a multicoloured stripes on the back of a van, car, vehicle, it's actually not a police car, it's highway maintenance 99% of the time. They're the fourth biggest army in the world now. And that is
highway maintenance people?
Exactly, they are. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're just behind, the sort of the army, navy, military, highway maintenance. There's more highway maintenance vehicles on the road now than ever before. Anyway, that's definitely...
And ironically, they're doing more... There's so many of them, they're doing so much damage to the highways that they're actually creating work for themselves.
Yeah, well, they've got flying horses, look, because that horse is just flying through the air. It doesn't look bothered, though, which is always nice. Very stiff-legged horse, that. It's very, very stiff-legged. No feet.
It's very... That horse doesn't need feet. I mean, it flies.
In all fairness, that's a well-shaded policeman who's talking into his radio there. So they've got him for realistic facial shading on that, to the point of agony. They've even given the woman makeup. But I don't think this is exactly the Force. It's a bit like The Bill. It worries me that there's a police simulation. I bet it's not real. If in the 80s, of course, you'd have had to amass at least 700 police officers to smash miners.
Is that font as well? Yeah, true. I don't want that. Is that font very familiar? Is that the same font they use for the Bill?
Yeah, it's for the Force. It's kind of the police font, isn't it? I don't know why that is, but it is. It does look like that. I think it's because it's got the blue and white, the little blue and white sort of checkerboards running off it. That is kind of that the police are blue and white checks. They were then. Yeah. They're not now, but they were then.
Let me have a look.
So, but strange old game that.
Yeah, but just looks so dull.
Well, look at the weird graphics. It looks like a massive map. The top one, it all looks like a strategic map and deployment stuff, and very dull. And they look like Spectrum screens, so who knows what this is going to be like.
It's the same T, but the Bill is written not all in capitals, but the T is the same.
Yeah, it'll be the same font. It's
the same font, just all in capitals.
Very heavy serif on the letters there. Very heavy serif now.
Heavy serif. And that checkerboard line sort of thing, that checkerboard squaring sort of thing, that's off the Bill logo.
Yeah, and the F is massive in Force. And why do that? Why is it a massive F? I don't get it. Why that? Why that letter? Just the Force. Like, just why that one letter is huge? It's just... it doesn't need to be, does it? It doesn't have to be a big F.
No.
Who enlarged the F in Force? The question.
Somebody really likes their Fs.
Well, that's the crime they're trying to solve. That's why the police officers are looking befuddled. The guy on the horse is like, what the hell? The police officers at the bottom are like, well, the traffic warden and the other traffic warden are like, why are we even here? We're not police officers. We shouldn't be in this game.
And the guy on his motorbike is floating somewhere.
He's bemused by the entire operation. And I'm just looking at the map names there. I can just see Ross something and Sun something.
Well, that could be Sun Hill. Sun Hill.
It is Bill the game, isn't it? I bet this came out later as the Bill.
Yeah, it is the Bill the game.
Yeah,
the Bill the game.
Yeah.
No one wants that.
Bill the game.
Bill the game. Anyway, on that note, that's your Crapverts. The Force, Battle of the Planets. That just so annoys me. And the confusing Max Headroom. That's your lot for this week. What we're going to do now, sort of thing. Yes. So we've looked at, what games have we looked at today? We've looked at Mercenary, which was, we appreciate its tech chops, but it's not for us. Nightshade, Dragonskulle, awful ultimate nonsense. Uridium, would look good in arcade. One Man is Droid and Kane. You could do a lot worse than pay for these at £2. And Enigma Force, which is a bit confusing and a bit of a disappointment after Shadowfire. What we got coming up next week? Next week we have more games. So obviously from March 1986, we've got Hardball, Quake -1. We've got the conversion of Kung Fu Master. Hiya! We've got Ark of Yesod, Deathwake, Critical Mass, and Yabba Dabba Doo.
God.
So say Yabba Dabba Doo, Graham.
Yabba Dabba Doo.
Yeah, Yabba Dabba Doo. Where can people find us? Tell people where they can find us, Graham.
You can find us on zappedtothepast.com. You can find us on Twitter under @ZappToThe. You can find us on Facebook under Zapped to the Past. And in fact, if you Google Zapped to the Past, you're going to find us that way as well. You can also email us at zappedtothepast@gmail.com.
Yes, you can. And so that's good. Find us all there. If you like us, tell other people.
Yes,
this always comes at the other end of adverts in podcasts, and we don't normally do it. But, we might as well get in on this gig, we might as well. So if you do like listening to us and you know people that are into two guys talking about C64 games for far too long, then tell them that we were, that they can spend their time with us, and that would be quite nice. If you like us and you're listening to us on Apple, then hey, people always say like, subscribe, and share, rate and review us, because supposedly it helps for some reason.
It does.
I don't understand why it helps, but supposedly it helps. I don't know who it helps, whether it's the homeless or the aged, I don't know. It helps something. So if you listen to us on Apple and give us a review, that would be quite nice. And I think on that note, I'm done, because I'm not going to say anything more about that nonsense. I've been Adrian Mills.
I have been Graham Raddings.
And you have been listening to Zapped to the Past, and we'll be back with another episode next week.
Thank you for listening to the Zapped to the Past podcast. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the world of Commodore 64 games, as well as the music, sights, sounds and news from around the 1980s, driven, of course, by the issue of Zapped 64 magazine, published at the time. We will be back next week with another podcast, so do please join us. Until then, please head over to zappedtothepast.com to sign up to our email list, as well as check out all the links and resources in the show notes. You will also find us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram under Zapped to the Past. The Zapped to the Past podcast is written and produced by Adrian Mills and Graham Raddings, and recorded at Flaky Bits 2.0 Studio. All opinions expressed are those of the writers, and while we indeed love Zapped 64 magazine, the Zapped to the Past podcast is not affiliated with it in any way. Stay safe, and see you next time.